Okay. Adam?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and call our regular scheduled town board meeting to order. I have asked Commissioner Smith to do our invocation and our Mayor Pro Tem Massengill to do our pledge of allegiance. All stand.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, Lord. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to live in this great community and the opportunity to serve our fellow citizens here in this community. Lord, we do have an ambitious agenda tonight. I pray that you'll give us wisdom as we decide each and every issue on the agenda. Lord, we do think about this storm that's approaching our state and all the citizens across North Carolina that will be affected. Lord, we pray for safety for our citizens, our fellow town and county and state employees across the state who will be responding. And Lord, we pray that the leadership in our state will be able to make the right decision to make our state a safe place to be over the next few days. Lord, I pray that everything that's done and said here tonight will be pleasing in your sight. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Virtual meeting protocol. At this time, I will ask our town manager, Adam Mitchell, to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this virtual meeting. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, and good evening, town board members. It's good to be with you this evening. All attendees that have joined the meeting tonight have joined muted. There is a public comment period and several public hearings scheduled for tonight's meeting. The only time to address the board regarding items that are not the subject of a public hearing is during the public comment section at the beginning of the meeting. If anyone from the public wishes to address the board during either the public comment period or during a public hearing, they will need to notify the town host that they wish to speak. So there's a process for that. And that process is if the public is planning to join the meeting online and they wish to speak, they are asked to please raise their hand by pressing the Raise Hand button in the Zoom app. If the public is joining the meeting via telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand. After you have raised your hand, you will enter into a queue. When the public comment period begins, Mayor Byrne will ask the town host to recognize the member of the public to speak by calling out their name, last name, and first name, or the last 4 digits of their telephone number. At that time, the member of the public will be unmuted and allowed to speak and address the town board. We ask anyone that is planning to address the town board this evening that you begin your comments by stating your name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak can be heard in a timely manner. Once the public has finished addressing the board, they will be muted for the remainder of the meeting. And Mr. Mayor, this concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 3A, approval of the minutes from the July 13th, 2020 regular scheduled town board meeting.
Mayor, make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move right on. Adam, we go to item 5.
Yes, sir.
There are no presentations, so that's 4A, so we move to 5A, or 5. At this time, the IT director will call on individuals that have virtually raised their hand by way of the Zoom app or by telephone. Those wishing to address the town board will be unmuted one at a time. As a reminder, the public comment is for those wishing to speak on matters that are not subject to a public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Scott, do we have anybody?
Yes, sir. We have one hand. Glenn, please go ahead and speak. Please unmute your mic.
Glenn? Glenn, can you hear us? Come on in.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not sure that I may have hit the wrong button. I do not understand this.
Well, you're doing good. If you need to talk to the town board, you're certainly welcome to do it. If you just want to listen in, that's another story.
I'm listening, but I'm more interested in 7D. So I believe I'm early. Okay,
that's fine. We'll keep moving forward. Thank you.
No, I'm sorry.
No problem. You're not messing up. We're all learning this deal. Thank you, Glenn. Okay, we move to 6. Anybody else, Scott?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll move on to 6A. There are no items tabled from the previous meeting. 7A. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to present his or her request and for the public to give input and to voice their favor or opposition to the request. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand by way of the Zoom app or on Zoom telephone so that you may be called on to address the town board. Once you are invited to address the town board, please begin by stating your name and address for the record. Development agreement regarding infrastructure, construction, and reimbursement, Bell Chase Commercial Retail Project. More information on this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a development agreement regarding infrastructure construction and reimbursement between the Town of Fuquay-Varina and FV Retail, LLC, for the construction of Bell Chase, a regional town center retail commercial project. As you know, Fuquay-Varina's residential population continues to expand rapidly, and so does the demand for quality, high-end commercial retail services and amenities. The recruitment of high-end retailers is significant to the value of any rapidly growing community. Attracting quality, niche, and unmet retailers demanded by residents and local industries will help support the strong housing market and position the community to capture more regional growth and spending among various business sectors. Large commercial retail destinations contribute to the local economy by creating a significant number of jobs, expansion of property tax base, and an increase in sales tax spending. Also, large retail destinations attract shoppers from outside of the community, where now these shoppers spend their money and contribute directly to the local economic base. By today's economic development standards, the ability to recruit desirable retail commercial services and amenities can help validate a community's ongoing economic development success and efforts. In 2014, the Town of Fuquay-Varina Board of Commissioners adopted its first economic development strategy and charged the town's economic development department with identifying unmet retailers, developers, and sites capable of developing high-density commercial and retail destination projects. An essential component of recruiting new retail opportunities to one's community includes effective networking with retailers and their preferred developers. The development of large retail and commercial anchor destination projects requires collaboration and coordination from both the public and the private sector. The town's ability to provide public infrastructure and utilities to large-scale projects is essential to attracting sustainable development benefiting both the public and the private sector. The proposed project, consisting of nearly 100 acres, will be constructed as a multi-occupant, mixed-use shopping town center development with up to 800,000 square feet of retail, office, and multifamily buildings constructed over several phases of development during a 10-year period. The developer, FV Retail LLC, intends to design and develop Bell Chase, as a higher-end integrated mixed-use project consistent with similar projects that this firm has constructed throughout the Triangle region. If approved by the town board, the town and the developer will enter into a development agreement regarding infrastructure construction and reimbursement to construct an open-air lifestyle center type of mixed-use community capable of attracting high-end retail, commercial, and office types of uses. Under this agreement, the developer will be responsible for constructing public improvements consisting of public infrastructure needed to support a project of this magnitude. These public improvements will consist of easements, rights-of-way, grading and other site preparation, water and sewer installations, public roadways, sidewalks, bike paths, and associated railroad crossings, all to the town's construction specifications. Upon completion of the public infrastructure improvements and review by the town's engineering department, the developer agrees to commit all infrastructure improvements to the town. Under the proposed development agreement, the developer intends to perform the following obligations. Belle Chase shall be designed and developed as a higher-end integrated mixed-use project consistent with other projects constructed by the developer throughout the Triangle market. Belle Chase shall be styled as a town center open-air lifestyle center mixed-use community to be marketed as a retail commercial office destination development. The mixed-use commercial retail residential office community may consist of vertical development, first floor commercial retail, second plus floors may potentially be residential. A minimum of 2 anchor tenants shall be incorporated into this development. I believe we've got a map on the screen that depicts some of these obligations.
You do?
The tenant mix shall include a combination of the following categories: fast casual restaurants, casual dining restaurants, fine dining restaurants, home furnishing stores, home improvement stores, consumer electronic department stores, sporting good department stores, department store anchors, specialty retail and restaurants, grocery supermarket stores, full inline department stores, fitness centers, cinemas, soft goods and accessory stores, office, medical, and multifamily residential, and condominium residential. Upon obtaining property entitlements, the developer shall enter into contracts for the engineering and design work for Phase 1 of the public improvements following the adoption of a capital reserve account resolution further discussed tonight. The town shall have the right of approval of the engineering and design firms chosen by the developer. The developer and the town shall approve a budget and construction schedule for the public improvements necessary to support development of Belle Chase. This budget and schedule shall be reviewed by town management and updated annually. The developer shall follow the public bidding procedures of North Carolina General Statute 143-129 and enter into one or more construction contracts with an experienced contractor or contractors for the construction of public improvements. The town shall approve the contractors chosen for the public improvements. The developer shall not commence construction of Phase 1 public improvements and subsequent development phases without first securing sufficient letters of intents, leases, commitments, and purchase agreements for Phase 1 private construction sufficient to obtain Phase 1 construction financing for the Belle Chase development on terms reasonably satisfactory to the developer. This documentation shall be reviewed and approved by town management before construction commencement. The developer shall commence and proceed in an orderly manner to complete construction of the public improvements under acceptable or applicable town standards. Phase 1 is projected to include 24.01 acres, including internal and external NCDOT improvements, supporting 130,000 square feet of commercial retail uses slated for occupancy within the first 3 years, or within 3 years, of approval of this agreement by the developer and the town, and the adoption of a capital reserve account resolution. The projected cost for Phase 1 private construction is $25 million. The projected cost of public improvements associated with Phase 1 is $5 million. The combined cost of the proposed private and public improvements is $30 million. The developer shall, on each anniversary of the execution of this agreement and more often upon reasonable notice, provide evidence to the town that the developer is making all reasonable efforts to obtain construction loans and entering into leases for the construction and completion of Phase 1. The developer shall furnish the town updates regarding leasing progress, including the existence of any signed letters of intent, and the town shall have the right to review and approve the proposed tenant mix. After completion of Phase 1, if not earlier, and subject to market and financial conditions, the developer shall submit appropriate revisions to the site plan and construct budget and schedule for the public, provide site plan updates and construction budgets and schedules for the public improvements to support Phase 2 for the town approval, and thou shalt enter into contracts for engineering and design work of Phase 2. The developer shall then make all reasonable efforts to obtain construction loans and enter into leases for the construction and completion of Phase 2 of the project. The current projection for Phase 2 is 17.97 acres, supporting 100,000 square feet of commercial retail floor space occupied within 5 years of approval of this agreement. The projected cost of Phase 2 private construction is $18.6 million, and the projected cost of public improvements associated with Phase 2 is $2 million, the combined total cost of $20.6 million. Each subsequent phase of the Belle Chase development shall follow the same protocols and similar construction phases. Any system development fees will be due and collected by the town only as each phase is developed on a building-by-building basis. Now, the town has some obligations in this arrangement as well. I just reviewed with you the developer's obligations. The town's obligations are, first, that the town shall provide funds reimbursing the developer for costs associated with the design, including without limitation engineering, surveying, environmental and architectural matters, and construction of the public improvements to facilitate the Belle Chase project. The total reimbursement amount shall not exceed $10 million without formal amendment of this agreement. Following reimbursement for design and construction of public improvements, the town will also, on a case-by-case basis, consider the payment of incentives, including but not limited to cash awards or payment or reimbursement of ad valorem property taxes levied against the developer's property for a particular tenant and land use desired by the town to locate within the project. Any such incentive award shall require formal council action following public notice and hearing, and be based upon a projected increase in the appraised tax value by the developer's property sufficient to generate revenue, allowing recoupment by the town of the amount of the incentive within a 10-year period. And this is consistent with our economic development policy, or incentive policy. The town shall adopt a resolution creating a capital reserve account earmarking $10 million for the design, construction, and permitting of public improvements. The capital reserve account shall receive town annual appropriations as follows, and funds not drawn upon the developer in any one fiscal year shall be added to the funds available for reimbursement in the following years for a period of up to 10 years, not to exceed 10 years, unless the term is extended through subsequent agreement of this agreement by the parties. And so this agreement has 3 infusions of town appropriations over the course of 3 years. Fiscal year 21, which is the fiscal year we're in now, $3.5 million. Fiscal year 22, $3.5 million. And fiscal year 23, $3 million. And this is consistent with the town's adopted 5-year plan. The developer and the town shall approve a construction budget and a schedule for public improvements before the withdrawal of any funds from the capital reserve account. Such budget and schedule shall be reviewed and updated annually, and when deemed appropriate by the developer and the town, modified to account for market conditions and the availability of construction financing. The funds shall be dispersed no more than monthly according to the developer's draw request, accompanied by payment invoices and such other information reasonably requested by the town to pay the public improvement cost as incurred by the developer. The developer is not permitted to commence construction of public infrastructure and building improvements as previously described without receiving approval by town management. The developer must furnish to the town for review and approval sufficient retailer letters of intent, lease agreements, financial construction commitments, and purchase agreement contracts prior to the town approving construction commencement. The developer is required to provide the town all construction financial documentation as a part of the developer's submittal for their construction budget and schedule that is subject to town review and approval prior to commencing construction. Throughout the project, town management and the developer will follow these same review and approval protocols prior to letting construction and reimbursement of public infrastructure. All town funding participation for this project will be provided on a reimbursement basis. The developer is required first to pay all upfront costs for the public infrastructure and only then submit to the town for eligible reimbursement costs. Only after the town has reviewed and certified eligible project costs will the town provide reimbursement funding to the developer for the public infrastructure improvements. And again, those draws can happen as frequently as a monthly basis. Belle Chase will be designed as an open, multimodal type of development, focusing on connecting patrons to a carefully selected tenant mix, offering a wide range of high-end restaurants, retail, and entertainment services and amenities. This type of large-scale commercial retail development is an essential component to the town's overall economic development strategy that aims to foster a sense of community that closely links the residents and local industries to a contemporary style of community-focused amenities deserving of Fuquay-Varina's prosperous and rapidly growing community. This agreement does have some financial notes to report to you this evening. Again, we went over a few of those, but I'll reiterate. The agreement obligates the town to provide reimbursing funds to the developer for costs associated with public infrastructure and roadway improvements that best support the project and the surrounding properties. The total reimbursement funding will not exceed $10 million during the 10-year duration of this agreement. If adopted by the town board, a capital reserve account will be established permitting reimbursement of the project's public infrastructure improvements. The town will appropriate funds to this capital reserve account over the course of 3 fiscal years, for which I had previously described to the board. Funds not reimbursed to the developer in any one fiscal year will be added to the funds available for reimbursement in the following years for that period not to exceed 10 years, unless the duration of the agreement is extended through subsequent agreement between both the town and the developer. The developer shall not commence construction of Phase 1 public improvements without first securing sufficient letters of intent, leases, commitments, and purchase agreements for Phase 1 private construction sufficient to obtain a Phase 1 construction financing for the Belle Chase development on terms that are reasonably satisfactory to the developer, and this documentation shall be reviewed and approved by town management before construction commencement. The action that is recommended to you this evening is to first conduct a public hearing, followed by a motion to 1, approve the proposed development agreement regarding infrastructure construction and reimbursement between the town of Fuquay-Varina and FV Retail LLC as presented and recommended, and 2, adopt a resolution creating a capital reserve account earmarking up to $10 million for the design, construction, and permitting for improvements to support the Belle Chase commercial retail project. This account will allow the developer to draw upon funds for reimbursement of public infrastructure associated with the development and in accordance with the proposed development agreement regarding infrastructure construction and reimbursement. And finally, third, approve budget amendment BA 21-05 as presented and recommended. That moves the $3.5 million that the town board has appropriated in the fiscal year 21 budget to the capital reserve fund as noted in my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board has either before or after the public hearing. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town. In addition to Exhibit A, there is an Exhibit B, which describes the developer's planned phase plan at this moment. Green, bottom left quadrant representing Phase 1, blue, top northwest quadrant representing Phase 2, yellow, southeast quadrant representing Phase 3, red, due north quadrant representing Phase 4, and gray representing Phase 5, a total of up to 800,000 square feet of retail commercial tenant space. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Adam. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this agreement?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I have one hand raised. Phone number ending in 0839. 0839. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. This is and Councilman. This is Rich Barta, and I am the voice for the development team on this project. I just wanted to let everybody know that we have spent a tremendous amount of time on this over more years than most people would know, thinking about this property and Fuquay-Varina, and we're very excited to come to your community. We have been in the business for a long time and had, we've done close to 46 million square feet of retail transactions in the Carolinas, and built over 6 million square feet of development throughout the Carolinas, and including a close neighbor to the Fuquay community over at White Oak and Garner, which was our project from the start. So I just wanted to let everybody know we're excited to be a part of your community, and looking forward to the opportunity to do something really great here. We have a great team, we have a great partnership, and we're going to be patient and make sure this comes together at a level and place that everybody has an expectation that it will.
Rich, thank you very much for coming to Fuquay-Varina first, or your interest in our community. But thank you for being on the phone, here tonight. This is a big undertaking for our town, and it's an important project that we want to do a real good job with. And I'm sure that's your plan as well. But thank you again, Rich, for being here. You got to have anybody else, Scott?
No, sir. No hands raised.
Okay. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to this agreement?
I see no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. The hearing is now closed. Is there any discussion by the board? And if not, what is the pleasure of the board?
Manager,
We've talked about this for a long time now.
Manager, you mentioned earlier about different things that can go on with this project, and one of the largest concerns I've heard, or interest I should say, not concerns, in the community is this type of investment, this type of high-end and retail in Fuquay-Varina, not having to drive to other surrounding communities. You mentioned some of these different locations here in phases and such, and Mr. Barta earlier mentioned White Oak Shopping Center. You have a few examples for the public of types of things that you see going here, or possibilities, or things that would fit?
Well, yeah, certainly there are, if you use just White Oak as an example, and I think that it would similarly apply in this case. Certainly a cinema from an entertainment standpoint would be a ideal candidate for a tenant space. A large box retailer, for example, and I just use some examples for particular tenants. That's not to say that's what will be here, but Target, for example, is obviously a business that every community would like to have in their community. Potentially a large box wholesaler like a Costco would be or a Sam's Club would be a tenant there. Certainly, we would be looking for the developer to attract and bring some of your national chain restaurants, but not necessarily your fast service restaurants. We have those, and there might be a place for that here or there in the development, like there is in White Oak, but I'm talking more about your sit-down restaurant-style restaurants like the Longhorns and the Outbacks, and the steakhouses and the types of restaurants that right now we don't have in this community that others do in their developments. Certainly, smaller retail shops would be candidates for this, and you see lots of examples of those in the White Oak Shopping Center, whether it's clothing or whether it's other specialty shops, retail shops. Those would be examples of what would potentially be an ideal tenant in these spaces. And then, I think I could probably carry it along to say, in the fortunate circumstances of being able to recruit a tenant that is not regularly identified in the marketplace here. That was a success story in Garner with the White Oaks development, where the development team here was able to recruit and attract Cabela's, which was a company new to the Raleigh metro market, and certainly brought a lot of buzz and energy to the White Oak development and to Wake County, frankly. And so our hope would be that this developer would be able to replicate that type of success in the Bell Chase project, and potentially even bring some tenants that are new to the marketplace that would be unique to Fuquay-Varina and not necessarily seen all over Wake County or all over North Carolina, that would make this that much more special for our community.
Okay. And it's also mentioned full inline department stores.
That's correct.
And medical, which I find, we need those sort of facilities here in Fuquay-Varina.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that answers those there, and medical is what I was going to follow up with, which Mayor said that, and thank you, sir. Repeat what you said earlier. Total investment is in this project, by the time it's with the developer.
Yeah, I think the
30 million, was that correct, or
what's that?
Was it 30 million?
30 million was just phase one.
Okay, and then 5 phases combined. What was that?
I think that this project could be anywhere between 120 to 150 million dollars.
And what's good about that, and that's just, I understand it's a tiered project over the next few years, but it's a $100 million plus investment generates over $1 million worth of additional tax revenue at the same time, which that tax revenue, as we know, commercial projects don't nearly prey on our resources as some of the residential projects do, and this will generate an abundance of new revenue, which will allow the town to do projects throughout our community, also increasing road improvements, the road improvements that come with this project, and then additional generation of revenue to be able to do more projects at the same time.
I think you make excellent points, and another way to describe that is this project very much sets up to be a transformational and catalyst project for more great development in our community in years to come.
And I think what shows the success of this, and what shows that this developer has been working hard on this project, and to make this a reality, is 540 we're supposed to be driving on 540 in about two and a half years.
That's correct.
This project will be coming online very similar time frame, which will really help this project at the same time, but then the additional the ease of Fuquay-Varina residents to get here and then go to work or go to other places, but also the ease for other people to come to Fuquay-Varina to be able to shop at the same time and go down 540. So all those reasons above, I think it's an excellent project, and I'm excited for it and full support of it. And Mayor, if anybody else wants to make comments, then I'll make a motion.
I do have one comment or question.
Any other comments?
I'd have one question I'd like to make.
Okay.
Like the Mayor Pro Tem, I'm very excited about this type of development coming to our town. I think it's going to, as you said, be transformational, and I think that's great. I do have one question. I think we covered this before in some previous discussion, but the town is making a reimbursement investment into this project. What would be your best estimate of the recoupment time for us to see the funds come back in terms of revenue being raised?
So that's a great question, and there are some factors that would go into that to move the needle one way or the other. I think we are from a financial model standpoint looking somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 22 years, depending on the mill rate, but that could shift based on market conditions, certainly, but that would be our expectation.
But clearly, it would be recouped down the road, and it'd be a really good investment up front for us to see this happen.
That is correct.
And I agree with the Mayor Pro Tem. I'm ready at any time to support this.
The other thing that
Questions.
The other thing that happens on that investment side is that it creates other opportunities in and around because of the infrastructure
You're right.
that's put in place. And that infrastructure wouldn't, if it's not in place, then those other opportunities wouldn't present themselves.
You make an excellent point, and that is, you can see that just on the map on the screen, the type of infrastructure that would be added
That's
as a
right.
result of this project.
So that would shorten that payment time back to the
Sure, if you
town
consider those items as well.
considerably, and we think that this is a location that's well deserving of that type of repayment
Absolutely.
back to the town. So I share that with everybody because I think what we'll see, much like Garner has seen, is the area will fill in all around this particular project, and we've already started to see some of that. Okay.
I had a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Jason.
I wanted to express my excitement about this project. I know this has been worked on for years. It's been a result of a lot of hard work and planning. I know that years ago when I ran for the first time, one of the things that always came up was more shopping, more entertainment, more restaurants, and this is all of that in one. I mean, this is all of that, and so my goal was always to be able to, say that we as a board were able to have a town where you don't have to travel out to go shopping, you don't have to travel out for fine dining, you don't have to travel out to go to the movies. You could do it right here in the town of Fuquay-Varina. And for those reasons, and with all the planning that's gone into make this what it is, and the jobs that all this will create as a result of all these retail opportunities, to borrow the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem's sayings, it's a banner day, I think, in Fuquay-Varina, and the sun is definitely shining bright. This is a tremendous project, and I'm thankful for all those who have worked in planning this to get this to the point where we're at now.
Well, I will say, and it shouldn't be underscored, and perhaps I did not mention this in the comments, but it would be the full expectation that this just would not be a retail center for the town of Fuquay-Varina, but this would in fact be a regional destination.
facility.
I would imagine that there would be residents and citizens from Harnett County that would come and enjoy the amenities and the shopping and the entertainment value that this development would bring, and really it positions us well in the marketplace because of its geographic location. I would also just add, since you brought it up, Commissioner Wunsch, this has been a relationship that has been fostered over a long period of time. As a board, we've discussed it. I know that the mayor has been involved in dialogue and conversation with the developer over time. Our former economic development director, now assistant town manager, Jim Seymour, has been very much engaged and involved in the relationship component with the developer. I as well have been involved in that process. You as the board have set the vision and the tone for this project, which have allowed us to continue to make those relationships and build that relationship. So when the time was right tonight, we would be ready for it, and that's where we are.
One more thing I would add is I think our Mayor Pro Tem really makes a good point. 540 is going to change this area forever, and that will be coming online, like he said, about the time as this project continues to be developed out. And Johnson County will benefit from this facility too. So I think it's a great opportunity for this regional center in the southern end of Wake County. Are there any more comments? Or
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make, I know I've already spoken, but I want to make one more thing. I remember when I first got on the board, we had NC State come to speak with us, and they talked about connectivity, and they talked about shopping In Fuquay-Varina, we lacked shopping being close to residential living. And I was thinking about that as I was reading the agenda and the abstracts, that this helps accomplish that thing that they pointed out, I don't know, about like 7 years ago, that they said this is one of the things that we needed to work on in Fuquay-Varina. I think that's a giant step toward that.
Absolutely did. Absolutely. Okay.
Mayor, make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This is a transformational vote here. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, good job. That's it's been a long time coming, and we're excited to move this project forward, Adam. And
Yes,
thank
sir.
you and your team for getting us to this point.
Yes, sir. It's going to be wonderful for our community.
Okay, we move to 7B, zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment. The Spalding Group, PA 917 Southeast Judd Parkway and 0 Award Street, REZ 2020-09. More information on this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 6.62 acres located at 917 Southeast Judd Parkway and 0 Award Street from the Residential High Density Conditional Zoning District, RHD CZD, and the Office and Institutional, O&I Zoning District to the Residential Medium Density Conditional Zoning District, RMD CZD, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from multifamily residential to mixed density residential. The subject properties are located in the town's corporate limits. Properties are currently vacant and mostly forested. The petitioner has requested that the following permitted use conditions be made applicable to the subject properties: 1, single-family detached dwellings, and 2, townhomes. Petitioner has requested that the following site-specific conditions be made applicable to the subject properties. First, the minimum amount of open space provided shall be 20% of the total site. 2, construction traffic will only access the site through Judd Parkway. Award Street will be barricaded off during construction. The barricade shall be removed at the time the plat is recorded, showing the connection to Award Street. Third, roof line is not in a single mass, but broken up horizontally and vertically between units. Fourth, front-loaded units shall utilize a covered porch or stoop area. Fifth, the garage doors shall contain either windows or carriage-style adornments. Sixth, the required decorative features. As it relates to this, each unit shall utilize either a decorative front door with minimum 25% glazing, window or transoms, and door side lights or door transom. As it relates to materials, an additional condition is that at least 2 of the following materials shall be used on each building: wood, fiber cement, metal, masonry brick, brick veneer, masonry stone, stone veneer, or synthetic stone. The use of vinyl siding is prohibited except for trim elements of the dwelling unit facade. Instead, siding must be fiber cement siding featuring horizontal shake or board and batten design. Eighth, the minimum 10-foot Type B landscape buffer shall be provided adjacent to all existing single and multifamily residences. And finally, ninth, the buildings shall not exceed 3 stories or 40 inches in height. 40 feet, excuse me. 40 inches would be mighty small. Surrounding properties are primarily residential with a mix of densities, but also some remain undeveloped. The Eagle Springs Townhome Complex is east of the subject properties, and individual single-family homes that make up the village of Charleston and Phillips Point subdivisions are to the north, south, and west. The reference property is one of 3 properties which share ownership of an existing pond. However, the pond's dam is not located on the subject property. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the multifamily residential MFR classification at the subject properties. The MFR classification calls for property that supports the highest densities, complexes of 10 to 16 dwelling units per acre. Although the requested zoning district is not consistent with the 2035 land use plan classification, the petitioner has included a land use plan amendment along with the zoning map petition. Public water and sewer are available to serve the subject properties. The subject properties have access to Southeast Judd Parkway and Award Street, the former of which is classified as by the 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 100-foot right-of-way. Southeast Judd Parkway is identified as a 3-lane median divided road with turn lane and side path, and it's currently 2 lanes. Award Street is classified by the 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a local street maintained by the town. The petitioner held a neighborhood meeting on June 22nd of this year via web chat application. The meeting report was provided to you in your agenda materials, and town staff takes no position as to its content. The petitioner is requesting a land use plan amendment to the mixed density residential classification. As previously noted, the multifamily residential classification is incompatible with the petitioner's request of residential medium density. The mixed density residential classification is better suited to accommodate the proposed development. This amendment supports the land use plan's recommendation of LU4, encouraging infill development and redevelopment inside the town limits, which encourages the use and reuse of properties in the town limits to promote their highest and best use. As such, the requested land use plan amendment is consistent with the 2035 land use plan and its vision. The land use plan amendment, if approved, would allow for the site to be developed in a more consistent and appropriate manner as it relates to the proposed use and surrounding area. Management and staff are recommending approval of the proposed zoning map amendment with the corresponding land use plan amendment. It is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for a number of reasons. First, although the requested zoning map amendment is not consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan classification of multifamily residential, the petitioner has opted to request a change of the land use plan to mixed density residential, which is more appropriate to the proposed use and location. The requested zoning map is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendations of encouraging infill development and redevelopment inside the town limits. Third, and finally, the requested zoning map amendment would better conform to the surrounding uses and provide for the ability to better develop the property for its intended use. At the July 20th regular meeting, the Planning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval, finding it reasonable in the best interest of the public for those reasons I've identified. There is no fiscal note to report on this, as it is a zoning map amendment request. The recommendation to you this evening is to conduct a public hearing, followed by a motion to approve REZ 2020-09 as zoning map amendment at 917 Southeast Judd Parkway and 0 Award Street from the Residential High Density Conditional Zoning District, RHD, CZD, and the Office and Institutional Zoning District to the Residential Medium Density Conditional Zoning District, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from multifamily residential to mixed density residential. This proposed zoning map amendment with corresponding land use plan amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and are both reasonable and in the best interest of the public for those reasons identified by management and staff. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board has either before the public hearing or after. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this zoning map and land use plan amendment?
Yes, sir, Mayor. We have one hand raised. Phone number ending in 2691.
2691, come ahead. Just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Brian Duncan. I'm with the Spalding Group, address 1611 Jones Franklin Road in Raleigh, North Carolina. Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. Thank you for that presentation. I certainly won't go through everything again, but the main goal of this petition tonight is to bring these two subject parcels to be more in line and consistent with the surrounding land uses. There was, I think at one time, an apartment complex approved for this site. We certainly do not feel that's appropriate for this location, so we would like to bring this back to more of a residential medium density type district. We do want to upgrade the zoning conditions on the property to ensure a quality neighborhood that has high quality materials, a variety of materials, anti-monotony restrictions. As I mentioned, the site will have a minimum of 20% open space. We had a neighborhood meeting, as mentioned, on June 22nd, and conditions 8 and 9 were born out of that. We committed to the surrounding landowners that we would provide at least a 10-foot type B minimum landscape buffer adjacent to all single-family and multifamily residences. We also had one neighbor that was concerned about the potential maximum height of some of those buildings, so we limited that to 3 stories or 40 feet. With that, I'm available to answer any questions, and we are very much in favor of the proposal tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Scott, do you have anybody else that wishes to speak in favor of?
No, sir. I see no. We got one more. Just popped up. Sharon Jones, please unmute your mic.
Sharon, go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes, my concern is that the number of units that are going to be put in the area, because it is a flood zone area, there are some natural areas as far as the ponds that are located there. So I just wondered how the contractor is going to, deal with that.
Okay. Adam, you want to comment on that? I mean, go ahead.
Well, certainly in terms of density, they would have to comply with the town's standards with residential medium density conditional zoning. Certainly they would have to take into account the natural features and environment. The actual layout and density of a future development is unknown at this time. That is not addressed until the site plan stage. So I couldn't necessarily speak to the number of dwelling units per acre, other than I can say for certain that it would have to comply with the town's development standards and fit within what the category of residential medium density would entail. That could involve, as it's noted in their conditions, single-family homes. It could involve townhomes. It could involve a combination of the two, and that would again be flushed out during the site plan process. The developer, whoever ends up developing the site, would certainly have to comply with floodway, flood zone, flood soil properties and meet whatever standards or requirements would be required from an environmental perspective with that. And in many cases, depending on the severity of those soils and whether it does or does not fall within a floodplain or a floodway, Corps of Engineers would at times have input on what would be required in terms of buffers and setbacks and things of that nature. So all of that would have to be taken into consideration, and there are checks and balances throughout the process that would ensure that whatever development, style of development, and density of development took into consideration the environmental considerations of the property.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Did that help you some?
That did. My concern is, of course, is that this property was our family property at one time. And of course, we do have the ponds there, and I know they're an enjoyment to the current families that live there. And I just want to make sure that when this construction begins, that none of that will be destroyed.
I'm not sure that I can tell you that.
What I can say is that the developer did note that the actual dam for the pond, Mayor, does not reside on this piece of property, and so the developer in this particular case would not have necessarily the decision making on whether that pond were to be drained or not. To my understanding, that there are no plans that I'm aware of anyway that pond would be harmed. They do intend, as a part of their conditions, to maintain a minimum amount of open space, 20% minimum as a part of this, and it would be my expectation that a good percentage of that would would likely fall along the lines of the environmental features of the property. Of course, the developer, the petitioner's representative did speak earlier. If the board needed further clarification, perhaps the gentleman would be willing to speak to that.
I'm not sure he's still around, but we appreciate very much your comments. And we can ask him to come back, Scott, if he's there. But thank you so much.
Okay, we have another hand raised. I think it's petitioner 2691. Go ahead.
Come right ahead.
Hey, this is Brian Duncan again with the Sprouting Group. I did want to clarify the concern raised. There is no plan to destroy the pond. We intend to protect and preserve it, both in its physical form and from future erosion during the development stage. So we see that as an amenity, both to this community and the surrounding homes. So we do plan to preserve that.
Do we make a note of that, Adam? That's part of the public record.
It's a part of the public record as a result of tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate you coming back online. Does anybody else wish to speak? Scott?
I see no other hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to this zoning map and land use amendment?
I see no hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. The hearing is now closed. Is there any discussion by the board? And if not, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mayor, so comment was made earlier about the pond, and I'm glad to hear the developer said they want to keep that and saw it as an amenity, because I'm sure that the surrounding residents over there consider it to be an amenity also. The current zoning use of this manager, looking at that board up there, shows it as O&I and residential high density. Comment was made earlier about apartments. So without even coming amongst this board for a rezoning request, apartments could go here, which would be, is that correct? Apartments could go here?
If they weren't here tonight.
That's correct. If it wasn't being rezoned, apartments are already approved to go there. We wouldn't even be able to have this conversation about draining ponds or anything else or any view. But here we have a petitioner that's coming here down zoning it, meaning less dense, because townhomes are less dense than apartments, and to put in something that's less dense there. And to me, that is a very positive sign right there, and they intend to have the pond there, recognizing that's an amenity. Developer could have simply just gone in there and built a huge amount of apartments, high density apartments, or O&I, which is office or other types of use. And so that being the case, it's being a medium density here. This makes a lot of sense to me. You see RHD below it, which is residential high density. Mm-hmm. All around it, and here this is going down, stepping from high density down to medium density as you're getting closer. So to me, this is very positive. And then you have single family over there to the east of it. Is a very positive outcome here for the whole area. And I feel confident from what the comments were made earlier that the ladies' concerns are addressed on that too. So you've answered my question on that. In that being the case, I am in support of it.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Go to 7C, zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment, Timmons Group, 10-21-2, 10-0212, and 10204 Fayetteville Road, and 3916, 3918, 0, and 0 Hilltop Needmore Road, REZ 2020-10. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a zoning map amendment at the addresses previously read aloud by the mayor from the Corridor Commercial CC Zoning District, Residential Medium Density RMD Zoning District, and Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District to Office and Institutional Conditional Zoning District and the corresponding land use plan amendment from civic and institutional, mixed-use neighborhood, small-scale commercial, and small lot residential, all to civic and institutional. The 6 subject properties total 26.83 acres and make up the campus of the Hilltop Free Will Baptist Church. 3 of the subject properties at 10212 Fayetteville Road and 3918 and 0 Hilltop Needmore Road are in the town's corporate limits, and 3 of the properties, 10,204 Fayetteville Road and 3916 and 0 Hilltop Needmore Road, are in the town's extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. The proposed zoning does not include the northeastern portion of 10204 Fayetteville Road, which totals 0.57 acres. And on your screen here, this is the little bit of property that's outlined in red on the map, top left map. The zoning map amendment petition requests approval of the Office and Institutional Conditional Zoning District, ONI-CZD, at the subject properties. The petition is necessary to consolidate the multiple zoning districts of the subject properties in support of the future expansion of the campus. The petitioner is requesting the following conditions applicable to the use of the subject properties. First, the proposed permitted allowable uses for this application include a church facility, a K-12 school facility, an athletic facility, all of which are associated with the existing church, as well as other accessory uses as permitted. And second, the following uses are excluded: hospitals, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes. The petitioner is requesting that the following conditions applicable to the site-specific standards of the subject properties. First, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the school, the church shall do the following. A, the church shall dedicate a 75-foot width of additional public right-of-way along U.S. Highway 401. B, the church shall construct a private, gated, 2-lane asphalt driveway extending from Macy Grove Lane to the church's existing west parking lot. Third, the church shall dedicate a variable width conditional cross-access easement, which will allow the town of Fuquay-Varina emergency vehicular access to the church property from both Macy Grove Lane and U.S. Highway 401. A gate shall be installed at the church's north boundary. A small portion of the proposed private driveway will connect to Macy Grove Lane through an open space easement located in the future Brighton Ridge subdivision. The church will be responsible for obtaining the easement and building the access road to Macy Grove Lane. Second, any outdoor lighting for athletic fields shall be turned off between the hours of 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Surrounding properties are a mix of undeveloped parcels as well as commercial and low-density residential uses. A large property located to the west of the subject properties was previously used for agricultural purposes. However, this property now makes up the Brighton Ridge subdivision, which is currently under construction. The EB Bank subdivision and a vehicle sales lot are located to the northeast of the subject properties. Additionally, single-family homes are to the south of the subject properties along Hilltop Needmore Road and Fayetteville Road, US 401, with a shopping center located just across Hilltop Needmore Road. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the mixed-use neighborhood, MUN, small-scale commercial, civic and institutional, and small lot residential classifications at the subject properties. Although the requested zoning district is not consistent with the 2035 Land Use Plan, in 4 of the subject properties, the petitioner has included a land use plan amendment along with this zoning map petition, and that request will be described a little later on in my presentation. Public water and sewer are currently available to serve the subject properties. The subject properties are located along and have access to Fayetteville Road, US 401, and Hilltop Needmore Road, the former of which is classified as a 300-foot right-of-way by the 2035 Community Transportation Plan. Fayetteville Road, US 401, is identified as a 6-lane median divided road, and it's currently a 4-lane median divided road. Hilltop Needmore Road is classified by our 2035 CTP as a 110-foot right-of-way, and it is identified as a 4-lane median divided road. It is currently a 2-lane road. A neighborhood meeting was held by the petitioner on June 23rd at Hilltop Free Will Baptist Church, located at 10212 Fayetteville Road, and the neighborhood meeting report was provided in your agenda materials. Town staff takes no position as to its content. The petitioner is requesting a land use plan amendment to classify the 4 non-conforming subject properties as civic and institutional, which better conform to the uses of the surrounding areas and the proposed use of the property. The civic and institutional classification supports land uses that serve a public or institutional purpose, such as a library, a place of worship, or a school, among other things. The subject properties are currently used as a place of worship, and since the properties will continue to serve the community in this capacity, town staff agrees that the subject properties would be better suited for the civic and institutional classification. The land use plan amendment, if approved, would allow for the site to be developed in a more consistent, cohesive, and appropriate manner as it relates to the surrounding area. Town management and staff are recommending approval of the proposed zoning map amendment and the corresponding land use plan amendment. Both are consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and are viewed as reasonable and in the best interest of the public for a number of reasons. Again, the requested zoning map amendment, although not consistent with the 2035 land use plan classification, would be more conducive to the petitioner's request of the O&I CZD zoning district should the land use plan be amended. Second, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation of CF3, safeguarding our access to quality education. And third, the requested zoning map amendment would better conform to the surrounding uses and provide a more reasonable transition to the subject properties from the adjacent residential neighborhoods. At the July 20th, 2020 regular meeting of the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval, finding it reasonable in the best interest of the public for those reasons I've identified this evening. There is no fiscal note to report on this, as it is a zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment. The recommendation this evening is to first conduct a public hearing, followed by a motion to approve REZ 2020-10, a zoning map amendment at the following addresses identified in your agenda materials and previously read for the record by the mayor, from the Corridor Commercial Zoning District, Residential Medium Density Zoning District, and Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District, all to the Office and Institutional Conditional Zoning District, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from Civic and Institutional, Mixed-Use Neighborhood, Small-Scale Commercial, and Small Lot Residential, all to the Civic and Institutional classification. The proposed zoning map amendment with corresponding land use plan amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan, and both are reasonable in the best interest of the public for those reasons identified by management and staff. I am submitting the agenda materials and supporting documents and abstract into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions the town board has, either before or after a public hearing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this zoning map and land use plan amendment?
Yes, Mayor, we have one hand raised. Jeffrey Jones, please unmute your mic.
Jeffrey, come right ahead.
Yes. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Pastor Jeffrey Jones. I live at 3004 Cinder Bluff Drive, Raleigh, North Carolina. Of course, our church is located at 10212 Fayetteville Road in Fuquay-Varina. For 33 years, I've had the privilege to serve Hilltop Church and our community as the pastor and the general administrator of Hilltop Church and all of its ministries. We continue to grow. I would say God has blessed us for 3 reasons. I believe we consistently seek to teach people how they can come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. We want to see them baptized, and then we teach them biblically how they should live. And because of that, I believe our ministry continues to grow. And we need this building to help fulfill several needs, especially that of our Christian school, which serves the community as well. I believe our objectives are really to serve and to help. And I really would appreciate you supporting and approving this request.
Pastor, we appreciate y'all working with our town, and I know this has been a process, but y'all have done a wonderful job and a great example of teamwork in and working together to accomplish good things for our community. Anybody else, Scott?
No, sir. I see no further hands raised.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak in opposition to this zoning map and land use plan amendment?
I see no hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. The hearing is now closed. Any discussion by our board? And if not, what is the pleasure of the board? And
May I just have a question?
yes, sir.
Would you point out to me on the map what Macy Grove Lane is? I didn't see it on this.
Yeah, so let me just stand up because I can't point to it here.
I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
It's not, these maps don't necessarily reflect that, but this subdivision here is Brighton Ridge Subdivision.
Yes.
And it would generally come across right about this region right here. So the church has a parking lot back here.
Yeah.
Did you zoom in or did I touch that stop? I might have touched it back.
That's okay. It's all right.
And it will sort of traverse back this way and connect back in with the new neighborhood at this location.
Okay, so it doesn't currently exist. It's just, it will be
built as a condition of this zoning map.
Okay.
Macy Road does exist. It doesn't exist on this aerial, but it is physically in place right now.
Okay.
For the Brighton Ridge subdivision. And then this new driveway will connect to that, generally about this location right here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I might have zoomed in.
I would like to call on Commissioner Smith if he wanted to make a motion on this, because this is,
Mayor, let me make one comment for Commissioner
okay,
Smith.
please. Mayor Pro Tem wants to make a comment.
You have, you mentioned water and sewer utilities here. Does the church currently have, a church and school using water and sewer services?
Yes.
Which just shows the great things this church has done in our community about how they're able to expand and how the school is able to expand, which reason I bring up water and sewer, as we know, we've expanded our sewer plant and expanded our water plant. And so not only does it, people think about more people moving to town, but it doesn't necessarily just do that. It allows our current churches and current businesses to be able to expand. And by us having plenty of water and sewer capacity here, this church is able to grow their school and their congregation there. And so I just point that out as a situation that the sewer plant right around the road is really going to in turn help this location at the same time. So
that's a good point.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, I would just like to point out how much I appreciate the team effort that the mayor mentioned earlier between our town staff and the church staff as they worked toward this. It was a long process, and they all worked very hard, including you, Mr. Town Manager. You were involved in some of those meetings as well, and I certainly appreciate that. Our church, as our pastor pointed out, continues to grow even during this pandemic that we're in. We are still having people joining our church, wanting to come to our church, and more people signing up, hoping to get their children into Hilltop Christian School. So this zoning change is a necessity for the continued growth of the church in an area that we've discussed tonight that is continuing to grow in our community. So with that being said, I would make a motion that we approve this zoning amendment as presented and recommended.
Mr. Mayor, I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we move to 7D, zoning map amendment and land use map amendment, Bass, Nixon, and Kennedy, 805 Coley Farm Road, REZ 2020-11. More information on this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 8.423 acres located at 805 Coley Farm Road from the Residential Agricultural Zoning District to the Residential Medium Density Conditional Zoning District, RMD CZD, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from Rural Residential, RR, to Small Lot Residential. The subject property is located in the town's extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. Property is currently cleared and used as farmland. The petitioner has requested that the following permitted use conditions be made applicable to the subject property. First, that it be an open space development, and second, that daycares or in-home uses be allowed, accessory uses, home occupations, and yard sales be allowed. The petitioner has requested that the following site-specific conditions be made applicable to the subject property. First, vinyl siding is not permitted. Vinyl windows, decorative elements, and trim are permitted. Second, anti-monotony. No unit shall be constructed with an exterior elevation or color palette that is identical to the unit on either side or across the street. Third, as it relates to right-of-way visibility, any side or rear facade visible from an existing public right-of-way shall have a covered or enclosed porch and or decorative trim or shutters around all windows. Fourth, garage doors shall contain windows, decorative details, and or carriage-style adornments. Fifth, all homes shall include a covered porch with decorative posts to include a minimum of 24 inches massing at the base constructed of masonry material. And sixth, each unit shall have a front door with a minimum of 25% glazing, transom, and or side door lights, or door side lights, excuse me. Surrounding properties are primarily residential, but additionally vacant and agricultural uses. More specifically, future and existing single-family residential structures occupy the properties to the north and the east as part of Grays Creek Community Subdivision, and the south as a part of the Broadwell Trace Subdivision. Property to the west is currently vacant. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the rural residential classification at the subject properties. The requested zoning district is not consistent with the 2035 Land Use Plan classification. However, the proposed land use of small lot residential will make this consistent and more appropriate for this location. Typical densities in this classification range between 2 and 6 dwelling units per acre. And furthermore, the requested zoning district is consistent with the 2035 Land Use Plan's recommendation of investing in existing growth areas, which ensures that the development patterns are supported by existing utility services, such as those that exist along Coley Farm Road. Public water and sewer are available to serve the property. The subject property has access to Coley Farm Road and Glenwick Court. Coley Farm Road is classified by the 2035 Transportation Plan as a portion of the future Fuquay-Varina Parkway, and therefore a 120-foot right-of-way. The future Fuquay-Varina Parkway is identified as a 4-lane median divided road with side paths. Coley Farm is currently a 2-lane road. The site additionally has access to Glenwick Court, which is classified as a local street by the 2035 Transportation Plan. The petitioner held a neighborhood meeting on June 23rd via the online conferencing application Zoom. The meeting report was provided in your agenda materials, and town staff takes no position as to its content. Management and staff are recommending approval of the proposed zoning map amendment with the corresponding land use plan amendment. It's consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan vision and is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for a number of reasons. Again, a small lot residential would be more appropriate to the surrounding uses and location. The conditions proposed by the petitioner effectively limit future development so that it is compatible with surrounding areas. And the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation of investing in existing growth areas. At the July 20th regular meeting, the Planning Board unanimously voted to recommend approval, finding it reasonable in the best interest of the public for those reasons I've identified this evening. There is no fiscal note to report on this, as it is a zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment. The recommendation to you this evening is to conduct a public hearing, followed by the motion to approve REZ 2020-11, a zoning map amendment at 805 Coley Farm Road from the residential agricultural RA zoning district to the residential medium density conditional zoning district, and the corresponding land use plan amendment from rural residential to small lot residential. The proposed zoning map amendment with corresponding land use plan amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan, and both are reasonable in the best interest of the public for those reasons I've identified this evening. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board might have, either before or after the public hearing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this zoning map and land use plan amendment?
Yes, sir, Mayor. We have one hand raised. Marty Bizzle. Please go ahead and unmute your mic.
Marty, come on.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Board of Commissioners. My name is Marty Bizzle with Bass Nixon and Kennedy Engineers, 6310 Chapel Hill Road in Raleigh. Tonight I am here to represent the owners of the property as well as MHB Development. The town manager did an excellent job in this presentation of going through our petition, our map amendment. One item that we would like to bring to your attention, we have had a discussion with the planning director and would like to substitute a condition. One condition that we had offered was the porch condition. We'd love to substitute that with the facade treatment condition, which would be a facade treatment minimum of 24 inches of masonry material at base along front facade and surrounding entryway. If that were to be approved in discussions with the planning director, we would resubmit our petition to basically include that condition and delete the porch condition. We do feel that this would be a very fitting rezoning, as our properties to the west, south, and partially to the east of the property are already zoned residential medium density. We currently do have a development plan that has been submitted to the town and is going through the review process at the moment. And we hope to be coming forward with that to share with you in the coming weeks. And with that, I'm available for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Adam, you feel comfortable, staff feels comfortable with that?
Generally, what we have typically seen is that those proposing zoning map amendments for residential purposes will voluntarily subscribe or offer generally in the category of 3 aesthetic conditions, and a lot of times they choose those from a menu that we have typically seen on other developments in the past, and the one that is being proposed by the developer as a substitution tonight is one that we have seen, and so the town would not object to that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments from board members?
What was the new condition again? I was reading something on the agenda.
So the developer, or the petitioner, excuse me, had requested to substitute the condition regarding porches. All homes shall include a covered porch with decorative posts to include a minimum of 24 inches massing at the base, constructed of masonry material, to a condition regarding sort of the foundation of the house being a minimum of 24-inch brick or masonry material.
So instead of being 24 inches minimum brick or masonry, what's he substituting it with?
Substituting that aesthetic look with the substitution of front porches.
So
Meaning that
not putting masonry on the front and instead making sure everything has a porch, or is it reverse?
Reverse.
Not building porches, but instead making sure everything has masonry.
Not having it as a condition necessarily.
I understand it's a condition. So not conditioning where everything will have a porch, but instead conditioning where everything will have masonry product on the front.
I believe, and let's just clarify for the record, if Marty's still on the line? Let's just verify this.
Marty?
That was mine.
We had a question for you, and are you available?
Yes, sir. And that the town manager is correct. We will be substituting the porch condition for and adding the facade treatment of a minimum 24-inch masonry material at the base along the front facade and surrounding entryways.
Okay, so what that look will be, manager, and talking out loud, is that
will have a brick or stone on the first 24 inches of the front of the house. Look, since it's called soldiers, sometimes at the top, the water table will look on there. And instead, no house out here will have a front porch on it. Required. It could optionally do it, but
That's right.
none required.
Correct.
Why, Mr. Petitioner, do you want to change those two?
In discussions with a potential builder, they have reviewed these conditions and they have not ruled out porches, but of the conditions that were in the menu or optional conditions that the town had presented to us, they had preferred to be, if there were a requirement, that they would prefer that be the facade treatment versus the requirement of a porch on all homes. They, like I said, that would not prohibit them from building a porch. It would just not require that a porch be built if those conditions were accepted.
Because porches cost more money to build and it's cheaper to build it without a porch?
My understanding is they have several different types of homes that they build, and not all of those actually have a porch. And it would just, and they do a masonry facade, as stated here in this condition, and it just fit better with their product that they typically build.
And staff feels good about it.
It is a condition we've seen in the past. Planning director supports it, management supports it.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, you good with it?
I mean, everybody's supporting it. I mean, simple reason is because it's more expensive to build a house with a porch on it than without a porch. And I think the goal behind these conditions that everybody's volunteering up is to have a variety of product in the neighborhood. So where you could say every house in the neighborhood doesn't need to be conditioned and required to have a porch, I would equally bite off and say that everyone in the neighborhood does not need to not have a condition that they won't necessarily have a porch either. So some kind of mixture in there, I think, is relative. Now, what bothers me on these conditions is I do believe it becomes a nightmare for staff to start counting if we said, for example, 50% on must-have porches or more, to then have to start counting, well, you're getting up on this number, we got to slow it back down. And I do not want to create those types of logistical headaches for staff, but I do think a variety of product in neighborhoods is what this board has been hoping people would bring amongst us right there. And so where we can ask any condition, but at the same time, and I understand what the gentleman's dealing with here. Builders typically have plans that they build from. And it does not matter who the builder is because it's simply zoning aesthetics that are being voluntarily put up. I don't have a good answer for it, Manager, unless you want to say something on it, but I do think a variety of product stuff is nice.
I do agree with you 100% on that. I think that is the goal that I've heard the town board say, that you're wanting to yield from future development. I could not agree with you more. That helps to prevent sort of the classic standard quote-unquote cookie-cutter type subdivisions, and without placing some sort of a percentage metric on it, like the Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, which would create a substantial more from a management standpoint of how that development is done. You sort of have to rely on the developer and the building community to do the right thing, and that's sort of where we are with this.
Does it doesn't mean that they can't build?
Doesn't mean that they can't. It just means it would not be required as a condition if the board accepted these conditions as being proposed this evening.
And we have seen, and I don't know who the builder is here, and it's irrelevant for a zoning decision who the builder is. That's not what we're taking into account. But we have, and this may be a moot point on this development here. When I do hear removing of that, I'm thinking of dumbing down and cheapening a product simply because of construction costs. But we have some other neighborhoods in town that the building and development community has proven to do a very, very good job. And we have some in town that are new construction that the builder there has gone in there and build stuff that I don't think we're as proud of to be in our community. And that is what makes me be wary in situations when we change things, because there is no guarantee out there unless you know who it is. But at the same time, you can't put a zoning condition on here that Adam Mitchell Building Company is the only builder that's going to be allowed to build in there. That would not be a realistic zoning condition, but it says zoning conditions that the next person's following. And so if this is something that wants to get approved tonight, or no volunteer mixture conditions, whatever, 'cause I could be fine with houses that didn't have all the masonry on front of them, for instance, to have some porches, just have some variation, variety of product is what we want in there.
That would be ideal. That's right.
And so it maybe nobody else here has those thoughts or comments that I do.
What were the other items? You mentioned there were 3 items.
Yeah, and then to that point, Mayor, I mean, hopefully some of these other, while I do agree with Mayor Pro Tem Massengale that, if you don't have porches as a condition, it does open the door for a, maybe less desirable product at the end of the day. There are some other conditions to your question, Mayor, that would hopefully add some value there. For example, obviously the anti-monotony provision is something we pretty standard look for in conditional zonings, that you can't have the same style of house directly across the street or beside any other house in a neighborhood, and it can't, or the color palette can't be the same, so you can't have 5 gray houses all beside each other. To try to provide that street appeal variation that we're looking for. From a right-of-way visibility standpoint, any side or rear facade that's visible from an existing public right-of-way shall have a covered or enclosed porch and or decorative trim or shutters around the windows. This helps to prevent from just sort of a flat wall house with just some windows that on the inside of the house that make sense where those windows are, but when you look at it from the outside of the house, they're just sort of randomly placed. If you have some architectural variation, like a covered porch or a screened-in porch, it at least breaks up that flat surface and provides a better aesthetic appeal from the public right-of-way. Garage doors, dressing those up a little bit, making sure they have windows in them or decorative adornments on them so that they're a little more appealing from the street and curb appeal. Glazing on the front doors and having transoms and side lights sort of prevent just the cheapest standard fiberglass door that you can find with no windows. It kind of eliminates that as an option, so it tries to dress up the front of the house a little bit. So there are some other, certainly the materials, trying to improve upon the materials from a quality and aesthetic standpoint. Hardy plank, brick, masonry, whatever the developer may choose to do. And in this case, a certain percentage of it, height-wise, would be on the front of the house, like the developer mentioned, a stone or a brick. And so there are some other provisions in there that I think help to improve the value of the house from a number of different metrics. I do agree with Mayor Pro Tem Massengale's observation that removing the porch condition that was originally offered up and approved for recommendation by the planning board does create an opportunity for a lesser appealing home if the developer was to choose to build all houses, or the builder was to choose to build all houses with no front porches.
Manager, when you made that comment on your agenda after item 5 that says all homes shall include a covered porch or decorative post to include a minimum of 24 inches of masonry. So the previous condition was porches and masonry, and now the condition is, well, let's just not worry about the porches, but we'll still do the masonry.
That's right.
I mean, the other comments would be, that all the other, planning recommendation board unanimously recommended it like this.
They did.
We rely on them for recommendations. Town staff liked it as it is, so they could live with.
We recommended it as a part of the abstract as it is. I'm just saying we wouldn't object to a change because it is a condition we've seen before. Wouldn't be our preference, but we wouldn't object to it necessarily.
So has the petitioner officially withdrawn that, and that is not there? Can we approve as recommended, which is going to have the porch condition on there, or no, that's been withdrawn and can't do that?
You have the, and our town attorney might just want to confirm this, but my understanding is that you have the discretion to approve as was submitted to you for your consideration and recommended by management and the planning board, or to accept the petitioner's request to substitute. If the town board approves, as was recommended in the abstract and in your agenda materials and was recommended by the planning board, then the developer would be bound to those conditions, or the builders in the neighborhood would be bound to those conditions.
And there's no condition on here about townhomes. This is single family or townhomes permitted to be built here.
That's correct. It would
Which
be,
leads me to think one reason why that porch condition may have been removed to make it easier for townhomes to be built.
it's a possibility.
Well, I think that, you've got the planning board that has made a recommendation. Now, this change to the recommendation is a staff requested change?
No, it's a petitioner requested.
Well, the petitioner made the request, but the staff is endorsing it.
Doesn't object to it if the town board agrees with it. We would recommend that the town board either have one or the other as a condition. I do agree that having the condition of the porch probably adds a little greater value to the home.
Okay.
And with that, based on the conversation I'm hearing from the board this evening, unless there's a different perspective, it would be my recommendation that you vote it forward as it was presented to you, because it sounds like that is the set of conditions that would make this board feel most comfortable that you would be getting the greatest value out of this development.
I don't really like removing conditions at this 9th hour. I'd really rather something go through planning board in each level all the way up to here.
That's fair.
And then if something gets added, that's fine, but I don't really like reducing something once it's gone through the entire process. So that's my 2 cents, will be approve it as presented.
Mr. Mayor,
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have much to add, except I have the exact same concerns that the Mayor Pro Tem has raised, and it was presented to us as already being looked at, evaluated, and approved by the planning board with item number 5, concerning this covered porch as an item on there. And I am not very comfortable in voting for something that the planning board hasn't had a chance to vet and submit to us.
Any other comments?
So, Mr. Mayor, did we close the public hearing on this, or is the public hearing still open on this? I'm not entirely.
No, where we are is in the public.
Okay, I just want to make,
Yes,
make sure. Okay, 'cause I know we had a lot of board conversations, so I just wasn't sure if we were still in the public hearing or not.
Got off track then, apologize.
No, it's fine. I just wasn't sure where we were.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move on.
We got some more hands raised.
Okay, this is in opposition of the request, or this for the four?
I believe we're still in 4, aren't we?
That is true.
Okay, come ahead.
Okay. Mike Morrison, please unmute your mic.
Yes. Hey, good evening, Mayor and fellow council member. This is Mike Morrison at 208 Forest Oaks Drive in Clayton, North Carolina. I'm also MHB Development. I'm the actual purchaser of this property. I'm going to be developing this into a subdivision. And I have to say, I'm sorry that I've created such confusion about this optional facade. But I wanted to interject. The only reason, there's 2 reasons why it was put through planning for approval and before it got to you guys. And unfortunately, I guess it was on my end, but when the planning meeting was last on the 20th of July, the agenda that I received showed that it was in person. And I made the mistake of traveling to Fuquay and got halfway there and was talking to my engineer, Marty Bizzle, who's on here with me tonight. And he said it was a Zoom. And as we were talking, it was about 6:30. And then he looked and it said the meeting started at 6. So he jumped on the meeting really quick on our behalf. And long story short, we were to have changed that at the planning board meeting, but we did not have an opportunity. So I apologize for that. But just to interject to the council and to the mayor to kind of maybe help you guys understand, the reason that we took the porch off was not to try to change the quality of homes. What it was to do exactly what you were looking for, was variety. I actually develop all over the Wake of Johnston County. I have a number of builders that come in and build my lots, and This particular builder is a nice regional builder, similar to the guys that are building in Broadway, Trace to the I guess south of us here. They have a lot of really beautiful home plans. Every one of them does not have a full porch, but they're very, very nice homes. And so what we were trying to do is create that variety that you're talking about rather than do the opposite. So some of those guys were preferring if I had gotten the facade treatment instead of the requirement of the porch. So I'd be glad to discuss it any further, but I just want to interject. And again, I'm sorry for the confusion, but that's not what we were trying to accomplish.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate those comments. Scott, do you have anybody else?
Yes, sir. We have Glenn. Please unmute your mic.
Glenn, come on. Glenn?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Am I good?
You're good. Come on.
Okay, thank you. All right, I apologize for my lack of ability with the computer, but I did want to address same thing with Mike Morrison. I missed the meeting on July 20th because I am not a Zoom person, but my house backs up to this property. So I'm looking for the best value of homes to be built there. I'm not real thrilled that it's been rezoned 3 different times to put that many homes on 8 acres of land, but I know you can't stop progress. But I do really hope that you guys will stick to your guns on the porches and what was submitted and not let them do away with the front porch. Excuse me, because I know what that'll do to the home value. So that's what I got to say about the porch part of it, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. You got anybody else, Scott?
I think, Mr. Mayor, the original speaker, Marty Bazell, wanted to try to provide some clarifying comments.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Is Marty there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's hear back from Marty.
Okay, Marty, please unmute your mic. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. I was originally just unmuting to let you know that Mike Morrison, the developer of the property, was on the call, and you just heard from Mike. But I share in his comments in just working with he and the builder. There is not an intent to devalue the property, the homes. This was just simply a way of fitting in more of the standard home plans that the builder typically builds. But from what I have observed, and I'm just a consultant, definitely not an architect, but there's been no intent to devalue what kind of product would go on the property. So,
well, I think we got a couple options the way I look at it, and thank you very much for your comments there. But if we could improve it as it was presented to us originally, or if they want to go back to the planning board.
Yeah, I think a couple of options, Mayor, to your point. My understanding from our town attorney, if they petitioned for it with the conditions that went forward to the planning board, then they consented to it, and so the town board does have the ability to approve it as was originally presented. Town board could approve it with the substitute, or the petitioner can request to table it and come back and continue to work on this with town staff. I think in light of the discussion tonight, my recommendation would be that the town board approve the petition as they consented to it and as it was originally submitted.
Did this petitioner say that Broadwell Trace was his development, or he said that a builder like?
He said it has builders that built similar product or same product as what's in Broadwell Trace.
Okay. I mean, if there were going to be some conditions changed or additional conditions added to this, and that'd be a different conversation. Not the same comments I had earlier. One of the somebody that spoke earlier, was that the landowner that said he wanted to keep the front porches, or was that a neighbor?
I think that was a
neighbor.
Property owner.
Property owner. Okay. So, I stepped on my comments I made earlier.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion then. We'll move on. If anybody wants to make a motion.
Mayor, make a motion to approve with conditions that were originally consented and agreed upon. No new changes tonight.
Second.
No, motion, Scott, is that better? Motion to approve as presented. No new changes that were presented tonight.
Second.
If I close the hearing,
I would do it one more time just to be certain.
let's do this. The hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board, and if not, what is the pleasure of the board? And I'm going to turn it back over to the Mayor Pro Tem. He was the one making the motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve as originally presented and recommended by the planning board.
I would second the Mayor Pro Tem's motion.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move to 7E, voluntary annexation petition, Hilltop Free Will Baptist Church property located at 3916 0 Hilltop Needmore Road and 10204 Fayetteville Road, ANX 2020-10. More information about this agenda item be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider an annexation ordinance extending the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina following a receipt of a petition for voluntary annexation of property owned by Hilltop Free Will Baptist Church located at 3916 and 0 Hilltop Needmore Road and 10204 Fayetteville Road, containing a total of approximately 6.195 acres. The property is contiguous to the town's corporate limits. Water and sewer services are available to the property. The town clerk has certified that the petition was sufficient and meets the requirements prescribed by North Carolina general statutes. The present total value of the property is $618,287. The total value is artificially high due to a portion of the previous tract of land that is valued at $482,644. The recommendation to you this evening is to conduct a public hearing, followed by a motion to adopt the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina to include the property owned by Hilltop Free Will Baptist Church of Fuquay-Varina, annexation petition ANX 2020-10 as presented and recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have before or after the public hearing, and I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town.
Thank you, Adam. The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this voluntary annexation petition?
Yes, Mayor, I have one hand raised. Chris Faulkner. Please unmute your mic.
Chris, come right ahead.
Yes, sir. Board, I appreciate your time tonight. My name is Chris Faulkner, 3001 Cinder Bluff Drive in Raleigh, and I've been a member of Hilltop Church about 20 years. I've had the privilege to serve on their board, their deacon board, that also serves as a school board. My children have attended Hilltop Christian School. From kindergarten, I now have a 10th grader and 11th grader starting there. And I just want to add that I appreciate the board's time tonight. I appreciate the effort that's been put into working through this process over the past many months. It seems like I've been involved since we built the first building on this property, and the town has been good to work with, and we just appreciate getting to this point. And the flexibility that you guys have given, and we look forward to moving forward in the community with both our church ministry and our school ministry, which will be greatly benefited by the expansion of this property and this zoning that we've been working hard together to make happen. So that's just what I wanted to add to the conversation. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Again, I've been intimately involved from the beginning and met with the planning staff on multiple occasions, as well as the town manager through the time. So I appreciate your time and look forward to a resolution.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you, and you're very much in favor of this request. Okay, Scott, you have anybody else?
Mayor, no, I have no hands raised.
Okay. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to this voluntary annexation petition?
I have no hands raised.
Thank you, Scott. The hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board? And if not, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we adopt this annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina to include property owned by Hilltop Freewell Baptist Church of Fuquay-Varina Annex 2020-10 is presented and recommended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We move to 7F, voluntary annexation petition, Rebecca J. and Jason T. Coble, 8404 Purefoy Road, ANX 2020-11. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider an annexation ordinance extending the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina following the receipt of a petition for voluntary annexation of property owned by Rebecca J. and Jason T. Coble, containing a total of approximately 2.407 acres. The property is non-contiguous to the town's corporate limits. Water service is available to the property, but sewer service is not available. The petitioner has signed an annexation agreement as it relates to the provision of town services. The town clerk is certified that the petition was sufficient and meets the requirements prescribed by North Carolina general statutes. The total present value of the property is $125,888. And the recommendation to you this evening is to conduct a public hearing, followed by a motion to adopt the annexation ordinance extending the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina following the receipt of a petition for voluntary annexation of property owned by Rebecca J. and Jason T. Coble, located at 8404 Purefoy Road, containing approximately 2.407 acres. Annexation petition 2020-11 as presented and recommended. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town. I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board has, either before or after the public hearing.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes, sir.
The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the voluntary annexation petition?
Yes, Mayor, we have a phone caller, phone number ending in 6587. Please go ahead and speak.
6587, come on and give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm Wayne Malden with Malden Watkins Survey at 1301 Broad Street here in Fuquay-Varina.
Yes, sir, Wayne. Glad to have you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you loud and clear.
Good to hear from y'all. I'll be glad we can see one another again.
Yes, sir.
We put this the Cobles here for their annexation petition before you tonight. I am in favor of it. They are trying to build a home there, and we do have the city water available right there in front of the site, and they wish to connect to it and be annexed into the town. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer.
I think we're good, but thank you very much, Wayne. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak in favor? Scott?
I have no further hands raised.
Does anybody wish to speak in opposition to the voluntary annexation petition?
There are no hands raised.
The hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board, and if not, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mayor, make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move to item 8, the consent agenda. What's the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve items A, B, C, E as an elephant, and remove item D to mail to make a couple comments.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have a question about item E
Okay.
as well.
All right, so let's do this. We're going to
amend my motion to
improve
approve
A, B, and C.
I amend my motion to approve items A, B, and C.
Second.
You got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of A, B, and C signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now let's go to item D.
Mayor, on this item right here, it recognizes the retirement, service weapon retirement award for Captain Jeff Dunn, and I want to be able to formally thank him for his service for the town of Fuquay-Varina and what he's done for the police department and his career here. The law enforcement service weapon, I imagine, is a very exciting time to be able to have, one, to retire and be able to enjoy some other times, but then also be able to have that to remember what you did. And with his service to Fuquay-Varina, Captain Dunn has been an asset, and I appreciate his service for Fuquay-Varina. And I know he worked under Chief Smith also, and Chief Smith may want to make some comments too.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I would also like to just be on the record congratulating Captain Dunn on this milestone in his life and in his career. It was my privilege to serve with him for 10 years. When I was the chief of police here, I had the opportunity to promote him to both the rank of lieutenant and the rank of captain. And for the record, I'd like to say thank you to his support, to our management team when I was in place at the police department. I'm sure Chief Feinstock has certainly appreciated his contributions as a member of the management team with the police department. And so just for the record, I'd like to say congratulations and job well done for our town.
Any other comments out there in reference to, and we'll have an opportunity to do this at a later time, won't we, Adam?
Yeah, due to obviously COVID-19, not to mention there's a hurricane out there, having Captain Dunn physically present at tonight's meeting was not reasonable, or weren't able to do it in the fashion that we would have liked to have done it. So there will be a small reception that the town board will be advised of that you'll be able to attend if you're available to.
Thank you. I'd like that.
To thank him and to be able to formally present his service weapon.
What's his last day?
I believe his last day is September 8th, somewhere in that range.
Okay. Just have we got that date set yet?
We're close to it, but I don't believe we
I'd like to know that date when you have that.
We will. We'll let everybody know that the date. But Jeff he's done a great job for our town and for many years. He'll be sorely missed. I think in the leadership standpoint, he's helped with the training of many of the young people that have come online, as well as Captain Adams has too. But they've really made a difference in a police department here in our community that has allowed us to be all we can be. And you'll hear our Chief Feinstock talk about that as well.
Mayor, make a motion to approve consent agenda item D.
Second.
Got a motion to approve agenda item D and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and we'll move to 8.
I just had a question.
Yes, sir.
E, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, 8E.
Yeah, just a quick question, and people have asked me, and I didn't know the answer to this. And in your fee schedule, you identify under adult athletics, the tennis league for single and doubles, and it has a cost and an asterisk, and I'm not able to determine what that cost would be, just the general cost for participating in the tennis league.
Yes, sir, Commissioner, and that might be one that I need to just follow up with you on in terms of the specifics. In a lot of these cases, if we're able to find an instructor or coaches so that we can actually hold those leagues, we would determine at that point what the cost to provide that program to the public would be. And in many cases, we would establish that fee after we understood what the cost would be, and they would typically cover the cost. So it's not just for tennis, but there are other
programs that we offer where the cost is determined based on the instructor and the total cost of the program itself.
Okay, I would mainly be interested in the.
But I can follow up with the tennis part of
Okay.
it and get with Jonathan and get a response back to you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. That was my question, Mr. Mayor, and I will move that we approve agenda item E as it is on the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will move to, we've just done 9. We're going to move to 10A. Municipal agreements, utility relocation and sidewalk construction agreements, NCDOT Project U-5746. More information about this agenda item be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider approval of the utility construction agreement and municipal agreement with Betterments for reimbursement for a portion of the cost of relocating utilities and other infrastructure improvements relating to the NCDOT U-5746 project. This project is designed to make roadway and infrastructure improvements to the portion of U.S. Highway 401 from Allen Street to the northern portion of 1010 Road. As part of the project, town water and sewer lines will be relocated. The total cost of the utility relocation is $271,639.50. The town-funded portion of this project cost is $75,421.05 cents. Under North Carolina General Statute 136-27-1, NCDOT is required to pay 75% of the utility relocation cost based on the municipal population. The town's portion of funding includes $67,909.88 in construction costs and $7,511.17 in project design and scoping costs. NCDOT has prepared a design-build utility construction agreement, which was included in your agenda materials, which includes funding a lump sum reimbursement amount of $75,000 from the town. Typically, the town has received these invoices at the end of the project. Therefore, a project ordinance is proposed to allocate the reimbursement funds for future years. The town management and staff are recommending approval of the NCDOT Town Utility Construction Agreement, the establishment of a project ordinance, and a budget amendment, BA 21-01. Additionally, in 2018, NCDOT staff contacted the town to discuss interest in funding a portion of the project to install sidewalks as betterment improvements in collaboration with the U-5746 project. NCDOT offers municipalities similar in size to Fuquay-Varina an opportunity to participate in betterment upgrades, where NCDOT funds 70% of the betterment project, while 30% is funded by the partnering local municipality. DOT performs all design, construction, and project management. The project betterment cost at the time for U-5746 was between $10,000 and $20,000. Town staff instructed NCDOT to include the sidewalk improvements and necessary curb and gutter into the project. The length of the proposed sidewalk is approximately 1,000 feet and requires approximately 1,200 feet of curb and gutter. The total construction cost for sidewalk installation is estimated to cost $58,963. The projected cost to the town is $17,689 at 30%, with NCDOT's portion for the project to be $41,274 at 70%. It should be noted that the final cost will be based on a low bidder unit of prices once NCDOT lets the project. This bidding procedure could cause the cost of the improvements to be higher or lower than initially estimated. Town staff has negotiated with NCDOT the ability to eliminate the sidewalk improvements in the event that higher than expected bids are received. The curb and gutter improvement portion of the project cannot be removed from the project. The town is responsible for funding the cost of the curb and gutter regardless if the sidewalk improvements are removed from the scope of the project. The town staff considers the cost associated with this project to be in high interest of improving pedestrian and vehicular infrastructure access. Management and staff are recommending approval of the NCDOT municipal agreement with Betterments, the establishment of a project ordinance, and budget amendment BA 21-02. The $75,000 cost of utility relocation reimbursement will be assigned from the town's enterprise fund unrestricted fund balance in budget amendment BA 2101. The $17,689 betterment reimbursement proposed cost will be assigned from POW bill funding in Budget Amendment BA 21-02. The recommendation to you this evening is by motion to first approve the proposed utility construction agreement and the municipal agreement with betterments between the town of Fuquay-Varina and the North Carolina Department of Transportation as presented and recommended, and to authorize the town manager to execute those agreements. The agreements have been reviewed by the town attorney as to form, and they are in the best interest of the public. The second recommended motion this evening is to approve the project ordinance for the utility construction agreement and the municipal agreement with betterments as presented and recommended. And finally, third, approve Budget Amendment BA 21-01 and Budget Amendment BA 21-02 to fund the utility construction agreement and the municipal agreement with betterments as presented and recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town as well.
Okay, so you just want us to take action?
Yes, sir.
On the document tonight. Any discussion by the board? And if not, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Brent, I move that we approve the proposed utility construction agreement and the municipal agreement with betterments between the town of Fuquay-Varina and the North Carolina Department of Transportation as presented and recommended, and to authorize the town manager to execute the agreements. The agreements have been reviewed by the town attorney as to form, and they are in the best interest of the public. Item 2, that we approve the project ordinance for the utility construction agreement and the municipal agreement with the betterments as presented and recommended, and approve Budget Amendment BA 21-01 and Budget Amendment BA-21-02 to fund utility construction agreement and the municipal agreement with betterments as presented and recommended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move to 10B, approval of design build construction method, Fuquay-Varina Fire Station number 4. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider the establishment of criteria for selection of a design-build project delivery method and consider design-build as the appropriate delivery method for construction of the town of Fuquay-Varina Fire Station number 4. North Carolina General Statute 143-128.1A permits governmental entities to utilize the design-build delivery method for construction contracts. Under the design-build method, project specifications are not designed prior to initiating the contracting process. Instead, the town advertises general project information and selects the design builder firm based on its qualifications to design, excuse me, I'm having a tough time talking tonight, and construct the project. Once under contract, the design builder, that word's tripping me up tonight, a team comprised of the designer and the general contractor works with the town to design the project based on the town's project criteria. This is facilitated by preparing a preliminary design scope of work followed by detailed specifications after the town's approval of the preliminary design. The delivery method will provide the needed flexibility to complete the project in a timely manner and hopefully within budget without sacrificing quality. The first step in this process for utilizing this method of delivery is for the governmental entity to establish in writing the criteria used to determine if the design-build method is appropriate for the project, then apply those criteria to the project and decide if this method is a viable option. The 6 criteria points as listed in the statutes, an explanation of each one are provided in this agenda materials, and the town's project application to those criteria were provided for your consideration. First, criteria 1, the extent to which the town can adequately and thoroughly define the project requirements prior to the issuance of the request for qualifications for a design builder. The design build delivery method may be used if it's determined that the town has professional personnel that are both qualified and experienced to thoroughly define the project requirements prior to the issuance of the request for qualifications. As it relates to the application of this project, Through the fire department, the engineering department, and the inspections department, the town has professional personnel that are both qualified and experienced to thoroughly define project requirements prior to the issuance of the request qualifications for a design builder. Additionally, staff personnel are available in the areas of purchasing, finance, and legal to assist in the development of the RFQ. The second criteria is the time constraints for delivery of the project. The design build delivery method may be used if a project has a firm date by which a facility must be operational, and normal delivery methods is likely not to be timely. Typically an RFQ, a study, a design, a bid, and construct. The size and the cost of the project will dictate complexity and the schedule. So as it relates to our project, due to the possibility of Wake County providing a significant funding stream for Fire Station Number 4, the ability to complete the entire project in 18 to 24 months is vital in all associated parties' budget processes. Typical procedure would be to procure a design consultant, complete the design, and then undertake construction. This process would take approximately 24 to 36 months. The design build process provides the best option for the town to meet the time frame under which we believe is necessary. The third criteria is the ability to ensure that a quality project can be delivered. The design build delivery method may be used if it's determined that the town has professional and experienced personnel to ensure that the design build firm will provide a quality project within the budget constraints established by the Board of Commissioners. As it relates to our project, within the fire department, the town has professional and experienced personnel to ensure that the design build firm will provide a quality project within the budget constraints established by this board. The fourth criteria is the capability of the town to manage and oversee the project, including the availability of experienced staff or outside consultants who are experienced with the design build method of project delivery. This method may be used if it is determined that the town has professional and experienced personnel that are knowledgeable of the design build projects, or in the alternative, experienced consultants local to the area that are available to be retained to perform the construction management of this contract. Criteria number 5, the application to criteria number 4 is within the fire department. The town does have the professional and experienced personnel that are knowledgeable about this process, and should it become necessary to contract the construction management of a design build contract, there are experienced consultants local to the triangle that are available. As it relates to criteria number 5, a good faith effort to comply with the general statutes, minority business participation goals, and historically underutilized businesses, and to recruit and select small business entities is required. And the design build delivery method may be used if it's determined that for the project requirements will be imposed which ensure that contractors will comply with the goals that are set by the town board related to those topics. And the town does comply with General Statute 143, 128.2, minority business participation goals, and General Statute 143, 128.4, historically underutilized businesses. We comply with both of those statutes. The town of Fuquay-Varina is an equal opportunity employer. Small businesses and minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and businesses owned by low and moderate income persons are encouraged to bid on this project. And finally, criteria number 6, the criteria utilized by the town, including a comparison of the costs and benefits of using the design build delivery method for a project in lieu of other delivery methods. And so, as it relates to this matter, some sample measurements used when considering a design build delivery method for a project include, is the project well defined, and does it include qualitative and quantitative characteristics that make a design build contract more appropriate than other methods of delivery? Is the project timeline condensed, and will it be necessary to have the facility complete and operational within a reasonably short period of time? Given the scope of the project, is there a maximum budget that must be adhered to allow negotiations and flexibility to make appropriate decisions on the scope and the project as the project progresses. Certainly, we already do have a planned budget for this, so we would want to keep it within those parameters and guidelines. Does the design, build, delivery method meet the ultimate operational goals established by the given facility and the quality of the product achieved because of a more fluid and flexible delivery method? Is it determined that the expected expense of a design build project will be no more than 10% greater than the expected expense of a traditional RFQ study, a design and bid and construction project, and the design build delivery method may be utilized? And so as it relates to our project, a major benefit for the design build process, again, is that it may reduce the overall project schedule by 6 to 12 months. This has a direct benefit on the project budget. The design build delivery method is not expected to involve any additional expense that the expected expense of a traditional RFQ would provide. And by reducing the time frame by up to 12 months, we are eliminating the price escalation that would typically occur within that year. In many cases, the design build process enables up to 5% of existing funds to be allocated to the construction over what traditional design, bid, build processes allow. These benefits to both the project schedule and the cost make the design build option more appealing than the more conventional design bid build in this instance. And so therefore, management and staff are recommending that the town board concur with the use of this criteria for determining design build in the appropriate that it is the appropriate delivery method for this project, and you authorize the use of this method for the Fire Station Number 4 project. There is no fiscal impact to the establishment of this policy and the approval of the utilization of the design build delivery method. So my recommendation to you is by motion to authorize me as your town manager to move forward with the use of the design build delivery method for the construction of the town of Fuquay-Varina Fire Station Number 4. The town board, as a part of this motion, would concur with the criteria that I've identified this evening and has determined that the design build method is appropriate for this project based on the criteria. I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board might have.
Adam, you think this process will help you? I know we've had some issues like with the art center and some parks and things like that, but I'm assuming that you're looking at this to help bring everything into focus.
That is a correct assumption. We have not used this delivery method before, although there are examples all over Wake County where this method has been used. And in those examples, more often than not, there are success stories to be had with that, whether it's a schedule success story, whether it's a budget success story, whether it is a mitigation of contractor and architect pointing fingers at each other with the town getting caught in the middle of it. There are some significantly measured advantages to this that we hope will improve our processes and, to your point, Mayor, bring it into focus.
Probably one piece of it is, bringing it in on time and on schedule too.
That's right.
And I think that helps you with that side of it if you get the right contractor, I'm sure.
It does.
Okay, any other thoughts? You need a motion on this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we quick question?
Yes, sir.
Do we somewhat on plans like this take a plan that say let's use an example. Raleigh has tons of fire stations. A fire station plan that kind of chief comes up with a plan of what we need in our fire station, and then do they kind of have a wheelhouse plan that they can pull from that they may customize or tweak slightly for something that's needed with our equipment? So that's something, the kind of base plan they start with, like a Raleigh model that's worked a lot, or Charlotte, or somebody that's real big and has a lot of stations.
Yeah, as we would look to solicit requests for qualifications from a design build team, we would certainly hope to receive some qualification statements from those that have built fire stations and other units of local government, other municipalities, counties even, and that would have some prototypes and models to build from. Now, we would certainly, to your point, Mayor Pro Tem, have some of our own specifications that we would look to include in those, and cosmetically there could be some some considerations to be had. But yes, I think we would look for those teams that would submit qualifications to have experience with the direct build of fire stations.
Okay. And it might be something I think where I hear Mayor Pro Tem going is, you know, we're gonna build a fire station. This is what, number 4?
4, yes, sir.
We'll be building number 5.
We would
Maybe
be.
if is this in something in number 4 that we could be using in number 5.
Well, that, I think that you make a good point there, but I think also by having some sort of baseline and prototype in place, it too could help shorten the schedule and get things moving much faster.
A prototype that we use when we need a smaller station, we reduce bays. When we need a bigger one, we add bays to it and kind of work,
That's right.
work from there.
And to your point, not all stations need the same amount of bays. That's right.
And the fire department's favorite color is red, so a red fire station would make a lot of sense to me too.
They do love red.
Any other comments? I will entertain a motion on this.
Mayor, make a motion to approve as recommended by staff.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We move to administrative reports 10C, purchase and sale of real property agreement. 110 and 0 North Main Street, and assignment agreements and subsequent purchase and sale of real property and lease agreement. 122 North Main Street, Fuquay-Varina. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider approval of offer to purchase and sale of real property agreements for property located at 122 North Main Street, Wake County Property Identification Number 0656986039, and 110 North and 0 North Main Street, Wake County Property Identification Numbers 0656976853 and 0656977850. Additionally, the purpose is to consider entering into assignment agreements with SDA Development LLC for the assignment of the rights as purchaser and leaseor under the agreement for purchase and sale of real property and lease agreement included in the agenda materials. The subject properties are again located at 122 North Main Street and is located in a strategic development area for the town in that it abuts the town hall property and the former town police station. Multiple attempts to secure the subject property for purchase have taken place between town management and the property owner in the past several years. It is in the town's best interest to secure this opportunity to purchase the property now that it is available. The subject property, located at 110 and 0 North Main Street, formerly known as the Parker property, has recently been included in the town's downtown mixed-use development site, consisting of approximately 3.5 acres of assembled property, slated for a large-scale mixed-use development project consisting of residential and commercial uses. This property is located adjacent to the town's current police department building and the town's Centennial Park. The town has budgeted $1.6 million in capital funding for the town's downtown mixed-use development project. These project funds have originally been appropriated to support improvements that would support a commercial and residential mixed-use project. The agreed to purchase price for the property at 122 North Main Street is $650,000, and the purchase price for 110 and 0 North Main Street is also $650,000. Funds for the acquisition of these properties have been identified in the town's general fund, downtown development capital projects. The cost of acquisition for these properties totals $1.3 million, and upon assignment of the agreement for purchase and sale of real property and lease agreement for 122 North Main Street, the town will proceed to purchase the real property located at 122 North Main Street under the terms of the agreement for purchase and sale of real property. The town will refund any deposit made by SDA Development at closing. The recommendation to you this evening is to, 1, by motion, approve the agreement for purchase and sale of real property for the properties located at 110 0 North Main and 0 North Main Street for the purchase of price of $650,000 and under certain terms and conditions as presented and recommended, subject to town attorney review and approval. And 2nd, approve the attached assignment and assumption agreements between SDA Development LLC and the Town of Fuquay-Varina, assigning the agreement for purchase and sale of real property, and assigning the lease agreement by and between SDA Development, LLC, and JPM Investments, LLC, for that property located at 122 North Main Street, bearing Wake County property identification number 06569860039, and approve the purchase of real property and lease agreement under the terms set forth in the agreement for purchase and sale of real property and lease agreement for the purchase price of $650,000 as presented and recommended, subject to the town attorney's review and approval. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official record of the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board might have. As you can see on the map on the screen, this would complete a puzzle that we've been working for a number of years to put together to be able to have significant input and control our destiny in terms of how North Main Street in this area develops in the future.
I think a lot of this is, what we've talked about at our retreat, and it's been part of our long-term plan. I know it's not the exact properties, but it is actually, in my opinion, almost a better deal than what we were looking at, because it's all that we have would be on Main Street. And I look at it as a 50 to 75 year investment to a part of town that we're working hard to create, and it's right next to our town hall facility, which is a state-of-the-art facility here in town. Does anybody else want to make any comments? I'd be interested to hear from them.
Manager, has there been any appraisals done on either pieces of these two properties?
Yes, sir. For the property at 110 and 0 North Main Street, the county recently, as a part of their reappraisal process, had an appraisal done on the property, or did their county appraisal as they do every 4 years. They appraised it at $491,393. We ordered a separate appraisal that returned a very similar number at $488,000. Both of those done in 2020. The property owner's representative also evaluated comps and determined that the value of the property, in their opinion, was $800,000. With respect to 122 North Main Street, the county's appraisal was $553,198. And due to the outcome of the appraisal for the Parker building, it was reasonable to assume that if the town had ordered an appraisal, that it would return something similar to that of the counties, just because of the time frame being so close together. So a separate appraisal for that one was not ordered by the town. My understanding is the property owner ordered their own appraisal, and the value of the property was appraised at $750,000. And so yes, that's the appraisal information on those properties.
The Foot Doctor Places, which is the one at the north side, has been for sale off and on for some time. You mentioned appraisals on those two. Do you have, and you talked about total appraisal value, which includes the building, for the project here that's being proposed and discussed? Do you foresee using the existing buildings or bulldozing the buildings?
I don't see the existing buildings being used at all.
So what is land value excluding buildings on these?
I have to go back and look at that, Mayor Pro Tem. I don't have that number directly in front of me.
I think
it's about
more about the
$440,000 on each of those for a land value excluding the buildings. It's roughly $440,000 each.
And that sounds about right. I couldn't quote you the exact number, but that sounds familiar.
I think it's more about the location and the tying all the property together.
Have any of these other two pieces of property that have been for sale, have they had any other offers?
Have any of these had?
Is there any competing offers going on right now?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So we have property that's been for sale for a while, which is somebody's right or whatever they want to sell it for. Don't get me wrong, that is their right. And they have negotiated a deal with the town to pay them $200,000 over assessed tax value. That's been done recently.
Of just the land, yes.
On a recent land value appraisal.
Yeah, I think it's the location that is the important piece to this puzzle. I mean, we paid more than tax value for the facility we're sitting in now.
That is correct.
So the location is what you're looking for here more than anything else. And I think it carries all of the pieces to the puzzle that our town's been trying to assemble in our downtown area.
I think the two pieces make a very good fit in a puzzle, 2 out of 5 pieces of land in a row right there. What I don't like is the price tag that's on them. I think that the price tag that's on them, there's not anybody else that will be jumping up and down to pay that kind of money. I understand the seller may not be willing to take it for less money, but I'm not in favor, and I know I'm a minority on this right here, but I'm not in favor of spending 50% over value of taxpayer dollars for this project.
Okay, well, you got a good reason, but I go back and look at the assembly of all of it, and I truly believe that the location is what we've been working hard to accomplish. And Adam's done a good job assembling this, and we have worked with different folks to come up with this solution for our town. And this puts it all under our control. This is not something that is not outside of our control. So I would entertain a motion on this if the board so feels that way.
I just had a question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
The intent down the road is to use this to be able to potentially sell for development, and where the town would recoup its costs that it has laid out, and I've given this a lot of thought, and it seems like, I mean, just the property values keep going up and going up and going up. I also did a little bit of questioning to get some information in terms of what we've done in the past, and it looks like that for the building we're sitting in right now, we paid 52% more than the appraisal value.
That's correct.
Now I understand that the difference would be obviously because we had an immediate use for the building. We were using the building. I get that. But if you base it on what it costs to get this building versus what it costs to get these other two buildings over the appraised value, there's a vast difference of maybe 23% and 15.5%. So there's a vast, I mean, in other words, we pay a lot more to get this building, and the value of these other two buildings, it's just a much smaller percentage over to acquire them. I agree. I want to get this property for as little as we can get it. It seems like this is as low as it's going to go, and that the number just keeps going up and up and up and up. And so I think with the intention being to one day recoup the costs and to control what can go here. In other words, it's hard to do a project without these two properties. It'd be near impossible to do it. Then that would be what would lead me to be in favor of this project. I certainly understand and respect the Mayor Pro Tem's point on paying more than what the appraisal is, and considerably more, but that just seems like, as the mayor also said, what it's going to take to get and control these properties and to be able to one day recoup the costs and have something very beautiful in the downtown area that we can be very proud of. And so after much thought and careful thought and consideration on this, I would be in favor of it.
I would add my favor for this project to that too, because I feel like if we are ever to have a cohesive vision for our downtown, we are not going to achieve it in a hodgepodge method. We have to be trying to put land together like this that we can control until it's not that we want to be the landowners for downtown. I don't think we want to do that, but I think we want to, we have to take the opportunities when they come to put the land together that's going to fit a cohesive vision for downtown. I think it's an opportunity we need to take.
It's what, like Marilyn is saying, it's what other communities have done to assemble those opportunities when they come along for your downtown area. If you don't have the assembly of the property, you won't get there. Commissioner Smith, do you have any words of wisdom for us?
I don't really have much to add to what has already been said. I have always, from the time when I was one of the tenants on this block, felt like that we had the opportunity to get control of especially 122 North Main Street. Would be a very good move for the town. And again, with what Commissioner once said, our intention is not to be long-term property owners. It's to be able to assemble property for some type of development where we could recoup our investment. And that's the part that pushes me toward favoring it.
Commissioner Harris, words of wisdom for us?
Well, I know with one of these properties, there's been ongoing discussion for several years, and it seems as if the time is right now to put us in the driver's seat to sort of determine the economic development that occurs in this particular area. It's going to give us control, and then it will allow us to be able to continue to stimulate growth in downtown.
Okay.
So those are my comments.
I would agree with, what y'all have said. And as I go across the state and look at different towns, this is very much the way that property has been assembled, and it will give us a long-term advantage for our downtown area.
Mayor, my last comment is I am not against property assemblage. I'm against paying over 50% overpayment of something. So not against the property assemblage, against the price. But I'm fine for you to call the question, sir.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to acquire this property and lease.
Mayor Byrne, I move that we approve the agreement for purchase and sale of real property for the properties located at 110 and 0 North Main Street for the purchase price of $650,000, and as recommended, and approve the attached assignment and assumption agreements between SDA Development LLC and the town of Fuquay-Varina, assigning the agreement for purchase and sale of real property and assigning that lease agreement by and between SDA Development LLC and JPM Investments LLC for the property located at 122 North Main Street. Also, in the agreement for the purchase and sale of real property and lease agreement for the purchase price of $650,000, all as presented and recommended, subject to the town attorney's review and approval. Oh.
Hey, you got two pieces of property.
That's right. She read both motions.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second her motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it. Okay. Adam, you need anything else on that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we move on to 11A, manager's report. And everybody's got the quarterly report. I don't know, do you want anything on the managers?
A few things I was just going to mention to the board this evening real quick,
Okay.
Mayor. I'll try to run through a few items real quick just to keep the board advised. Let's see. As it relates to our Parks and Rec Department, we do have progress that is still being made on advancing the sod and irrigation project at the Willow Lakes Town Park. So that's moving along nicely. As it relates to our planning department, we are in the process of trying to fill a infrastructure plan reviewer position. This is a pretty vital position to our development process, and we hope to have that position filled very soon. In our Public Works Department, we added, just for your knowledge, 11 miles of new town streets that were added to our town street network last year, bringing our total number to 131.94 miles of town streets that are POW bill eligible. As it relates to our Public Utilities Department, we have hired 2 new employees, one a utility worker, and the other one, we're in the process of hiring, actually, a treatment plant operator. Our Communications Department is wrapping up the 2020 Census Challenge this week. So I hope to have some good news to report on that later this week. And we are starting a new social media campaign that's going to highlight our town employees, 1 or 2 a week, over the next several months.
And that's been going very well. I've seen
some in the Parks and Rec Department you mentioned, Mary. Yeah, we're going to do it town-wide, though, for all of our departments.
Yes, this is exciting, and this is something I believe Wake Forest was doing.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
As it relates to our Finance Department, the fiscal year 20 audit is underway. I think the mayor and I have our annual meeting with the auditors coming up pretty soon to be interviewed and talk things through with them. As it relates to our Inspections Department, we set a new 1-month record, and this time by quite a bit. In the month of July, we issued 90 single-family permits. We've issued
That's just single family.
That's just single family.
Anything else?
We've issued 144 more single family permits than last year this time. Same under the same comparison.
Say that again. We're 144 more.
More than last year at this time. That's right. Oh. And along with those 90 new single family permits, we have also issued 3 24-unit apartment building permits at Powell Square. In addition to that, under our Inspections Department, we did hire a new permit technician, Danielle Collins, and she started today, in fact, and we are working to fill a field inspector position. As it relates to our Engineering Department, Northwest Judd Parkway continues to progress. Wilburn Road was closed on July 29th, and we still are on schedule and so far ahead of budget. And we're working to fill a vacant engineering inspector position that was as a result of a retired employee, Ron Nessery, when he retired. So we're working to fill his position. As it relates to our IT department, we are working through 8 major projects right now, with our new police department and Fleming Loop Park being the priorities. And we did hire a new IT technician, Joseph Betger, who also started today. Yep. In our Human Resources Department, they are staying busy, obviously, with the hiring process. And also, we've been working to prepare and distribute information to our employee workforce related to protocols, safety protocols, health protocols, as it pertains to COVID-19. As things have kind of ramped up towards the end of July, in many of the southern states, we're trying to help inform and educate our employee base so they can be as smart as possible in their decision making, whether it's wearing masks or washing hands or using hand sanitizer, or just not putting themselves in compromised positions so that they can stay safe, stay free of the coronavirus, and be able to be at work. As it relates to our police department, they're presently working through the new hire process. Chief Fonstock and some of our other leadership in our department have been participating in online forums here recently and community group discussions, and continuing to work towards building good, strong, positive relationships in the community. I do want to make the board and as well as the public aware that there will be a Black Lives Matter Stand Against Social Injustices rally at Falcon Park on Saturday, August 22nd. From 4 to 6 p.m. And it'll be a similar format as the Unity Walk that was last month in our community, except it won't be a walk. It won't be a walk from the community center to Falcon Park. It'll just be an event at Falcon Park. The organizer is Emmanuel Holland, and they are looking to involve various members of the community from different neighborhoods and different community groups. and there will be speakers and even a register to vote opportunity, I believe, that will be there. They're anticipating somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 150 participants. So I want to make you aware of that. And additionally, I do want to also advise the town board. This was mentioned a bit by Chief Fonstock when she was with us a few board meetings ago and made a presentation to the town board. She mentioned that the town was participating voluntarily in a data collection program sponsored by the FBI Use of Force Data Program. We are 1 in 5 Wake County communities that voluntarily participated in that program, and one of about 1,500 communities across the country that participated in it. And based on research and what we are hearing, it appears that this data program, while it was sort of in its trial and testing phase, may be something that becomes a requirement in the future of all police departments across the country. And so by us having participated, got some experience with it, I think we sort of have a leg up in understanding what it is they're looking for from a data collection standpoint with respect to use of force. So it's a positive experience for our police department to have voluntarily participated in that. And all things considered, if we have good luck on our side, our police department will begin moving into the new police department beginning on August 6th of this week. It'll be a slow move. It'll be a phased move, a transitional move. But once they get set up and scheduled, we'll arrange maybe small group tours for the town board members so you can kind of walk through and see how it's all set up.
You know, one comment that I would make there, and it's probably not just Scott's group, but our town staff has done an outstanding job working together to be able to have resources from the IT department and from other departments, but primarily the IT department, to upfit that building and to make it the building it is today. Also doing their job here. And it's a big job when you have to upfit a building like this one, and like you have to do one like the new police station, whereas our old one.
It is.
And Scott and his team have done it just second nature, and you don't necessarily hear a lot about it.
They've gotten pretty good at it at this point.
Well, they're having to. We're going with more buildings all the time. So, but I just appreciate that, Scott. Appreciate what y'all have done and bringing it all together for everybody. You've done it better than we could have hired an outside firm to do it, and certainly a lot cheaper. Okay.
And finally, I would just say that recently did extend offers to 4 new firefighters for vacant firefighter positions that were approved in the town budget this year. 3 of them were new positions. One of them was a filling of a position, an old position. And our fire department, members of our fire department staff have formed a committee to begin developing criteria for fire station number 4, as well as criteria for the replacement of ladder truck number 1 that is also scheduled to be done this year as well.
Good.
So these are all positive movements that we've got going on in our various departments around town. Again, Mayor, you mentioned project status report is included in your agenda materials. Quarterly report is included in your agenda materials. I also wanted to make the town board aware that I have hired a new economic development director who will be starting with the town early September. Alyssa Bird is her name. She is coming to us from her current employer. Who she's coming to us from is Chatham County Economic Development. She is the executive director of Chatham County Economic Development. She is very widely regarded in the industry here locally. Many of our partners with Wake County Economic Development have a relationship with Alyssa and think very highly of her, as well as many of the communities in the Chatham County area who we checked with when we did our background research on Alyssa. She also has some commercial real estate experience as well, and I think that's going to bring some value to us as we are working towards embarking on some new commercial development related projects in our community. She has experience with downtown development as well, and so she's excited about her involvement with that. She's very familiar with the North Carolina Main Street program and the players who are involved in that program as well. So she's, I think, going to bring some good perspective to our goals and objectives there as well. And as we discussed in the interview process, the goal is to elevate us and take us to that next level in our development journey. And Alyssa stands ready to do that. So very excited about her coming on board. Certainly looking forward to introducing her to all of you. The mayor has met her, but I'm looking forward to introducing her to all of you town board members as well. Whether it's virtually or in person, we'll have to kind of figure all that out as we continue to move forward through this new time we find ourselves in. But I'm very excited to have that position filled. I also know that Jim Seymour will be very excited to be able to give greater focus towards his assistant manager duties and responsibilities and not have to necessarily, even though economic development reports to him under the development services, not have to bifurcate his time so much towards that cause. So this is going to be an excellent addition to our workforce. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments to the town board. I'm happy to answer any questions that any board members might have.
Mayor, I got one question before we switch.
Go right ahead, please. Yes, sir.
When I was reading through your manager's administration reports, one thing I noticed on there that Herbert Akins Middle School, you had a note that that staff had reviewed their site plan. Mm-hmm. So that made me think sooner than later, probably construction going to be starting through there.
I believe it's planned for sooner than later.
We changed the process of some of these things. At one point, it used to be all the site plans had to always go to the board. Didn't that got changed to administrative, so that site plan will not necessarily come to the board anymore? Is that correct or wrong?
I know that we made some changes that non-substantial adjustments to
so that site plan should still come here is what you're thinking?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And I was mainly just because I was curious how the layout would work, and I know that you and staff's already going to be looking at Wake County's excellent job they do with parking and transportation and bus routing and that stuff. And
correct, we will be.
Encourage you to hammer home them hard because we know it's going to happen.
That's right. And sidewalks too.
Yeah. That's right.
And sidewalks, that's a great area for sidewalks and for them to learn how to stack buses better and parents.
And
Thank you.
The sidewalks are so important for the little kids.
That's right. There's nearly 1,000 homes right there in that area.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Well, I just want to ask,
please.
What is the new economic development director's name? Alyssa?
Alyssa Bird.
Alyssa Bird.
Like B-Y-R-D?
You got it. Yes, ma'am.
And what was the time for the thing in Falcon Park? 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Let me go back to my notes real quick. I think it was 4 to 6 p.m., but I'll confirm that real quick. It is, yes, 4 to 6 p.m., August 22nd, Saturday, August 22nd.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as many of us that can go to it, I would encourage that. And I think we had good representation, at the last event. But these are important events, in our community, and they do make a difference. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? Well, we're going to go through the list here. Mayor Pro Tem, your comments, your words of wisdom for us. And
Mayor, short comment, just wish staff, I believe, is operating emergency operations tonight and different other staff members that'll be working tonight. And here at Town Hall and then fire and safety and police and streets and all the different, and water and sewer and all the other different departments. I'll be out in the field somewhat tonight. Just wish everybody stay safe. Appreciate what everybody's doing and time that's involved with that. And just wish everybody be safe tonight. And thank you for what you're doing today.
Thank you.
Adam, you might want to comment on your, you've got an area staged in the building that's our emergency management
We do, and I'd be happy.
And Adam goes to it. He'll be in it later this evening.
Yeah, I'll be happy to respond to that, Mayor. So we do right now. We on the second floor of this building, we have a temporary EOC established. It's being staffed right now. Matter of fact, I was getting some reports during the meeting that the storm has been upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane, and it has strengthened. It's at 85 miles per hour now, the strongest wind gusts, and so it's getting kind of close to flirting to a Hurricane 2, but it has not made landfall yet. But when it does, it will start to break up and disorganize. We do have a team of individuals here, about 6 or 7, that will man the operations center throughout the evening tonight. We've got a phone bank set up so that for non-emergency calls, so that our police department dispatch doesn't get overly inundated if we have an issue that needs to be addressed, a fallen tree, perhaps even localized flooding. Those phone calls can come into us, and we can dispatch staff out to address those. We are prepared for the storm. This is not our first rodeo at these things, unfortunately, and so we do have equipment and gassed up, ready to deploy. We've got staff ready to deploy, and we've got a couple of different shifts tonight or through the night, and then tomorrow with incident command. I say temporary. As soon as this town board meeting is over with, because of some of the electrical backup support that we have in this room that we don't have on the second floor, the EOC will be relocated to this space right here tonight, and that's where it will operate out of throughout the evening.
Is there a temporary, excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
When this building was designed, one of the things that this board did was authorize the expenditure for this to become our what was the word?
Emergency Operations Center.
Emergency Operations Center, having all the technology and everything in this facility. We happen to have our board meeting in it tonight.
That's right.
But if we didn't, they would be here.
It would already be set up.
Moved down here.
That's right.
I just going to ask about the numbers. Is there going to be a temporary number assigned, or do they call the standard town?
There is a number that is
It'll be on the web?
That'll be on the website. That's right. That's right. It's the main number to the town.
It still will be the main number?
That's right. It'll just go directly to this call bank that we have a team of 2 or 3 answering the phones.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Adam? Okay, we'll move to Commissioner Smith.
I don't have any comments to make tonight, Mr. Mayor. Just everybody to stay safe this evening.
I know you're planning on leaving early in the morning.
Depending on the weather.
head to Texas. So.
Wow.
Commissioner Harris.
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
Celebration for Women's Equality Day, because it is the celebration of the passage of the 19th Amendment. And this year is the centennial, and they had planned, of course, a year ago, a big celebration, and it's going to be virtual, but it's still, all women didn't get the right to vote that day or at that time, but the first ones did. So anyway, it's a big day and exciting, but it will be virtual. And tonight,
what was the date on that, Marilyn?
August 25th.
Okay.
And I think this has been a really big night. We've had so many big nights, it seems, of just milestone projects and events for this town. And I think these 2 projects tonight are certainly 2 of those. And I remember my first retreat. I was briefed on this big mixed-use project, and that was like January of 2016. So it's really exciting to see it come this far.
You know, Marilyn, and it goes to tell you everything works at its own pace. It's not immediate, you know, and you have to be patient in this business, but be steady about it. And I think you make a real good point, and I appreciate you pointing that out. You know, you went into retreat and you came out, your eyes were opened a little bit, but it's taken us a pretty good while to put this piece of the puzzle together. And maybe at our next meeting, we'll have Adam's review, if that works. I know there's several folks are trying to go, but we're pretty much ready to do that. But if we'll do that at our next meeting, and that'll allow everybody to get home safe. But we've had Campo meetings since our last meeting. North Carolina Mayor's Zoom meeting. You know, coming up, we've got, and I'll probably ask Adam to do this for me. I think I will be out of town that day. The WebEx meeting with Wake Med. If there's a way that I can do that, I'll try to do it. But many times Adam and I do some of these things together. And we have meetings with the auditors and the Wake County Mayors Association is coming up on the 17th. And is it in September when they're coming here?
September, yes, sir.
September, we've got
I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it is September.
We'll have the Wake County mayors that will come here, and we plan on having a dinner here in this building, and then touring this building. We'll break up in small groups and tour this building. And I reckon that's got me covered. Unless somebody, I'll entertain a motion to,
We do need to, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, go into closed session.
Okay, real quick.
Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3, attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
Mayor, so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are we good to move quickly with this?